Cyberpunk Uncensored.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of City of Dreams. This is the third session and I'm your host, Game Master Xeppy, joined by 5 lovely and amazing players. And let's just jump into it again with a very short recap of what happened last time. So, making your way, as you had been hired to make your way into the sewers of Night City, the east side, off of Rancho Coronado, and to retrieve some sort of package, you ventured deeper within the sewer system, and eventually found your way into the deepest parts of them, and kind of discovered this entire ecosystem of homeless people and fixers and everything else that was going on down here. And upon questioning the inhabitants of this place, realized that there was some sort of cult-like organization disguised and making kind of secluding themselves away from the rest of the inhabitants of this area. And so as you made your way deeper in and had the tunnel collapsed behind you, you found resourceful ways to essentially close in on the large chamber that these cultists were residing within. And after making a lot of noise and hacking through the door, making your way up through a cascaded, broken staircase which had been blown up, and managing to sort of make your way across that, and it had been booby-trapped as well, you guys engaged in what became an incredibly long combat that had you fighting against 10, 11 of them, taking them out one by one. You guys emerged victorious and noticed that the chamber to the left of it leads to another room. Blue drips across the floor, and a small sort of humming noise coming from, or a children's hum sort of coming from that area, just going da 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 da. And as our rocker boy went up with his guitar and imitated that very same sound, the remote sensors turned off one by one, and you heard the voice saying, "Another follower. Please, come in." And so as the sensors on the explosives devices turn off, you begin to feel a chill which has made its way down your spine, and that smell of decay is slightly stronger as you're sort of standing there in front of this hallway that is about 30 feet heading down before it opens up into what seems to be a larger room. Connor, on the back of the group, as per usual, you feel a sort of a hand on your shoulder, and this seems to be Chloe, who just grabs you and sort of pulls you back a little bit. And she just goes, "Hey, I'm sorry I put myself into danger earlier, but that does..."
Are you okay? I mean, I was really worried. Did you see I shot a guy?
I saw, and yeah, I'm fine. But I want you to understand something. You do not need to put yourself... Promise me that you will not put yourself into danger just because you think I'm in danger. That's not your job. That's my job. Promise me, okay?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I was worried. I thought you were hurt worse than you were.
It's fine. Nothing a visit to the good old doc won't get sorted, so don't worry about it. Alright. And what would everyone like to do?
Well, I'm gonna go in. Why not?
Going to head 3 straight through.
Yeah, Connor's happy with the rocker boy taking the front and going in while he watches to see what happens.
Okay.
Ward will follow Gage just to kind of cover him a pace or two back. Assault rifle out, but lowered. Looking for more traps, but other than that, he's letting Gage lead.
Okay. Do roll me a perception check, Wards, and Gage as well, since you're at the front. And Forge, would you like to follow them as well?
Oof.
I think you are muted, potentially.
9. Oh.
No, as mentioned at the end last time, Forge stayed back in the main room, and he's taking another look at the computer, trying to open it up to see where the second data connection's coming from, if it's a second system inside.
Okay, so you're opening up the physical box itself.
Mhm.
Okay, it's easy enough for you to do so. After you sort of manage to get the panel off, and as you tear the panel, sort of take the panel off and have a look inside, there seems to be a small kind of what looks to be a wireless emitter sender of some sort of device inside of it that doesn't seem to be connected to the main motherboard of this device. The only thing that is connected is that there is a power splitter that's going into this box. One is going towards the motherboard. One is feeding this thing separately.
Is that an access point?
It doesn't appear to be an access point. It seems to be a pretty simple emitter as you sort of try to access it. In fact, actually, I would say that you could access it as an access point. It is a single-leveled architecture with no security on it.
Okay, and all it is the video feed.
You jack into it. You do see that you do notice that it does emit a video feed to the TV, but it also emits the video feed in a 300 meter range around it. Is what it's programmed to do. Just emit a consistent video feed. The video feed that's being emitted is not the same one that's being sent through the cable. So there are two separate video feeds that are being emitted from that device.
Can I access the feed and look at it?
You can, with tech tools and your agent and the like. Doesn't take too long, but this will take about a minute or so to sort of just get everything, like take the panel off and do everything. So are the rest of you heading towards the room as Forge is doing this, or waiting for him to do all of this first? Because this was sort of at the end of last session, so it's up to you. There's, in terms of order of how you guys want to approach this.
Yeah, no, Woody's just following Warden Gage here.
Yeah, okay. And Warden Gage, would you wait for the rest of the group, or would you just head in?
Ward is kind of looking back like, oh, okay, but he's just following Gage to if he's going in, Ward is going to back him up.
I'm going in.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happens with the video feeds, and then you'll take sort of a minute later to join them. But as you sort of do check the video feed, it seems to be what appears to be sort of iconography of spiders and wolves. So large spiders, kind of caricatures more than anything else, cartoonish almost in nature, lying next to each other. The spiders sort of like moving their heads, and like brighter pops of light coming out of their eyes, and the wolves sort of like sometimes petting the spider every now and then. It's all very weird. You're more than welcome to make a copy of it if you like, and keep it with you as well.
I'll definitely make a copy of it.
So that's the video that's being emitted by the looks of it. The video, as you carry on watching it, you do notice that occasionally, every now and then, it just comes up with the words "you did nothing wrong," and then disappears, and then "you did nothing wrong" 10 seconds later, and then disappears. And the video that was being emitted to the screen through the hardline connection seems to just be very much a kind of like a almost promotional video, but for this cult in a way, but which seems to sort of just echo the words at the top repeatedly, and you do see the words. It just goes, "The wolf protects all of us," written kind of bright red, and then you see similar caricatures of a wolf, but you don't see any spiders as such in this video. Occasionally you do see this wolf is sort of walking around in what appears to be sort of a large plain forest, and then moving itself around, and it's all a little bit not hypnotic as such, but it's all a bit weird, like taking a children's TV show and mixing it with something that would appear to be a bit more subliminal, maybe. But yeah. As the rest of you make your way into that room, You do get this. You do start feeling this cold chill that's filling the air ever so slightly. Maybe feels like a draft to some of you, but maybe not quite. And in front of you, you do start seeing the walls as you're approaching. The walls are covered in what looks to be some sort of writing, and it's repetitive because you can even from the distance with just looking at the squiggles, it looks very similar. It seems to be repeated writing.
Can I try to decipher or identify the writing with like an education check or something?
As you get closer, I'd say you could. It's quite small, but as you're making your way into the room, you could probably have a look at it.
Okay, I'll probably do that.
The walls next to you on the corridor themselves just have faint blood trails on them, and some red blood trails here and there, and some red blood splatters. But then there is also this blue liquid that you guys recognized last time, which seems to be cybernetic fluid, cyberware fluid. As you head inside the room, Gage, and look around, the smell of decay immediately hits you. It's harder here. The smell of mold and decay. You look around, and there, huddled up on an old and dirty mattress, arms hugging her legs in a sort of fetus-like position, and staring at a bright screen on the other side that seems to have a spider and a wolf moving around, sort of tending to each other. The words "you did nothing wrong" flashing up on the screen, and she's fixated on the screen. The woman is old. You cannot tell how old she is, but just by sort of the wrinkles on her skin and everything else, you can tell that she's definitely very, very advanced in her age. But you can't tell how old. Her hair is long, slightly thin, a bit scraggly, but still like not thinning too much. Still a decent full head of hair as such. And it's the color is anywhere between a red and a white in any sort of area of her hair. Across the room, next to the TV, you see a stand next to the TV, and like a sort of smaller table, and on there you see draped over this stand is a faded red dress, like a red dinner gala dress. And then there is a slightly chunkier glove that would not suit it at all, a bigger glove rested on top of the dress. And there are rubbish bags next to you. There is rubbish all over the place, actually, and sort of thrown around pieces of paper and other crap sort of around the room. And then there is a smaller bedside table next to this mattress that's kind of prodded up against the wall. And she sort of, as she's standing there looking at the screen and you approach, she sort of turns her head around to you and she goes, "Hello, come in." And she's got this really big smile on her face.
Does she appear to be cybered out? Does she have a linear frame or something like that that's leaking fluid?
With the 20 perception, as you were sort of approaching that room, you did notice the writing, everything else like that. As you sort of look around and look at her, she definitely does seem to be cybered. As you sort of look at her arms, there are definitely connections that would imply that those arms have been replaced. As you look at sort of... the thing is, what she's wearing right now is something akin to a nightdress, which doesn't cover very much of her arms and doesn't cover very much of her legs. So you do see that her legs have also been replaced. And just from a preliminary perception, yeah, definitely a lot of cyberware that's probably present.
Hi. I gave her a little wave, and she tells me to come in, so I slowly kind of walk in, trying to establish that I'm not a threat. I'm not holding any guns or anything. I'm just slowly walking in. I'm shit scared right now, man. Gage is on 15 health.
Okay. So Chloe and Connor will be hanging back. Ward will be right behind Gage, and then Woody as well. There you go. So
just a small thing while I'm walking by the writing, I'm just gonna record it with my video camera, just so I have a record of what it looks like.
So you do look at the writing. It's not written in the neatest and kind of a little bit frantically etched into the wall. You do notice that there are scratches that run. This has been etched in with some sort of blade potentially, but there are also scratches along the side which don't match up to the writing at all, and it's just over and over again. She's calling. She's calling. She's calling, and that seems to be written all over that side of the wall that you're looking at, which is between here where I'm pinging, towards like all the way over here.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna record it just for like later analysis or looking at it.
Okay. So
What do you, I was gonna say, what do you got shotgun drawn right now? He's a little creeped out by all this creepiness.
Okay.
Does she appear to have a remote control for the mine, or is there a remote laying around somewhere, and/or is the data store somewhere around?
From where you're standing, I'll take me another perception check for this room specifically. Just sort of glancing around. Okay. So right next to the bed, there seems to be what appears to be a small book resting on the foot of the bed. As you sort of have a look around, there seems to be potentially what appears to be something that's plugged in here that looks to be like a data bank of sorts, and that's resting on top of the table. The table itself isn't actually on the map itself, but it's just next to this screen here. So you do see where that red faded dress is and where that larger glove is resting on top of the dress next to it. There seems to be something plugged in that could probably match a data bank or so. Yeah, there's a book here, and there is no remote control that you can see.
Wow. Kate just left, but I was gonna like put my hand on her shoulder and tell him, "Be careful there. Don't antagonize the crazy cyber psycho woman."
She looks over at Gage specifically, so I'll wait for him to come back. But you would all hear her just... There he is. Hey!
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. So as you come back into the... so as you're sort of standing there talking to her, you do notice her eyes widen, and as she sort of... It seems to be really happy that someone has come into the room, and she just goes... Hey, you. Do I know you? I haven't seen you here before.
No, I'm new. I just arrived like 3 days ago.
You arrived 3 days ago. I'm Clarissa. What's your name?
This is hard, but give him a real name. My name is John. Nice to meet you, Clarissa.
John. I'm Clarissa. Why have you come here? Did you come to keep me company?
You get to see Gage do a little side eye, like...
By the way, Ward has sort of put his hand on your shoulder and warned you to be careful and tactful when you're approaching this.
Don't antagonize the cyber psycho. But then again, be friendly.
Yeah, I've come to hang out for a while, Clarissa.
I'll motion with my head over to the data store, try to catch Connor's eye. Like, look over there.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take a closer look at that data store after I follow his gesture.
Okay, like just with your eyes, or are you actually walking up to it?
Just with my eyes for now.
Okay, roll me a perception check on it, just to see maybe if you can
We'll see
glean.
if it,
This is pretty hard because it like there's not much you can glean from just looking across the room. But do roll me a perception check, Will, and we'll see.
so let's see if there's like anything dangerous around it, and we'll see what kind of data store it is. Maybe if it's like gonna be hard to move or
Okay, yeah,
that kind of stuff.
you can probably ascertain some of those things. Okay, so 29 total. That's definitely a data store from an age gone by. You don't see these being produced more recently at all. This is 50 plus years old at least.
Mm-hmm.
You assume, even though you have limited technical knowledge, but that roll is pretty good. But you assume that even the fact that it's plugged in is due to its sheer age. The data would probably be corrupted if it didn't have a consistent supply of electricity.
So like unplugging it could ruin the data on it?
Could potentially ruin the data. You wouldn't know this, unfortunately. So yeah, you guess that that's probably the reason why it's plugged in. But and then in terms of how hard it is to move, it looks to be a few kilos. It wouldn't be super terribly hard to move.
So we'd have to unplug it.
You'd have to unplug it.
Mm.
As you say that you've come here to hang out for a while, Clarissa just sort of looks at you, and then before you even realize, she just starts going. She starts kind of getting up and then moves at what appears to be an incredible speed towards you. Like she covers this entire distance in at least less than a second, right in front of your face.
You're a fast one.
She puts her hand around your neck, around your shoulder, and takes you back with her.
Why don't you play our lovely song, Gage?
Gage made a friend, guy.
You got yourself your first fan. Why don't you play her song?
Oh shit!
She brings you back towards the mattress, and then she just goes, "You played the tune, so you understand, right? You understand it wasn't me, it was him."
Well, Clarissa, I only just got here, and I mean, what's been shown so far is so cool. And what you guys are doing, it's so Nova. But can I get some sort of explanation on this whole thing? Because I've heard bits and pieces, but I don't have the full picture.
Yeah,
Out of
Woody's
character,
like,
just
yeah,
say Clarissa, explain it all.
Woody's kind of like doing that, triple and double takes at this 1 second, split second movement Clarissa just made. And yeah, no, he just has the shotgun trained. He's just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Okay. You do notice from her legs as she did that movement. Some of you Ward, you definitely noticed this. Several sparks, and Connor as well with your perception that you rolled. Several sparks start flying out from towards her ankles and her knees as she does this, and you just see brief sparks sort of arc up her legs. She doesn't seem to care or mind that it's happening, but something small to notice. As she brings Gage back, Gage, you trying to she sort of looks at you and just goes, "Well, that's okay. I'm always happy to explain. But how long are you planning to stay? I'm so sorry. I haven't got any biscuits. I haven't got any tea or coffee. Did you bring any?"
I just go and like check
No. It's impolite to ask guests if they had brought any snacks. Please don't worry. Sit down. She puts her hand on you, and you feel this immense force push you down to the floor, and you're just sitting. You just get leaned against the wall. She sort of looks around at all of you. Oh, so many friends. And for the first time, she's looking around and has actually noticed you. She seems to have been very absent-mindedly focused on Gage. And now she sort of turns around. She goes, "Oh, so many guests. Come, sit around. Let's have a chat. I haven't spoken to people in so long."
Yeah, guys, why don't you come and have
Wordle.
a seat?
Yeah.
Hi, Clarissa. Nice to meet you.
You said there was food in the other room, like 6 weeks, and I had taken some of it, so I'll fish a thing of crackers or something,
Yep.
and pull it out of my coat, kind of like take a half step forward, and then kind of not get too close to her, but not like whip it across the room, but a gentle 6 foot toss
Okay.
towards her.
They're packets, and you sort of throw a couple of the packets over in front, and as you do, she sort of looks at them, just goes, and then looks at you, and goes, "He brought some food. Come sit." And she goes over and opens the packets, and she just rips them apart and just lays them down on the floor and like puts the food bare for everyone. At this point, Forge, they've been gone for a minute, and you're done with your things, so.
I still have stuff to do.
Okay.
Like there's the 2 data files that I copied from the net architecture
That's right, yeah.
that I had decoded, but I didn't have the time to take a look at yet. So
While you're looking at the
following
computer, you
on.
got a message from me too, saying that we might need your help up here with some technical expertise.
Yeah, I'll take my time looking through the files.
Okay. The files aren't very hard to decipher for you as you have a look at them. One of them seems to be access logs, and mainly access logs for the door. You can see that the door itself opens up routinely, maybe 2 times a day tops. 2-3 times, maximum is 3, but mostly 2. You can tell that some modifications have been made to this place as of about, as far as the logs are concerned, actually. No, they wouldn't actually have contained the information. So you do see that mostly just access logs, up and down for the doors, controls every time, like, and timestamped as well. Seems to be somewhere around like sort of midday or afternoon that the doors open, and then like a couple of hours later the doors open again. And that's pretty much all that you're gleaning from the access logs, at least, as a sort of a kind of a passing by inspection, shall we say. Like, you're sort of having a look and seeing what you can make out of them. The other set of logs pertain to potentially what else was connected, almost like like an audit of the systems that were potentially connected to this, to that architecture specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be that the architecture was actually in charge of quite a few things. It was built with having the doors, the PA systems, but several more floodgates that seem to kind of be off on the west side of the sewers connected to it as well. They would get an early warning. They were designed in a way that they would sort of get an early warning signal and then close several doors on the way, depending on where they sensed that water was coming from, if there was going to be some sort of like rush flood that was going, some breach or something, as well as power controls to the generators, which also seem to have been detached from the, as far as you were in the access in the network architecture, you have not seen those. So someone's tampered with that access point. You figure it must be a netrunner that must have tampered with these with this architecture at some point.
From all of the data available so far, can I tell when that happened?
Yeah. Just remind me on a slide check. What do you have to be as a netrunner? I haven't run into sliding in a while. Sorry, cloaking. On a cloak, do you have to beat a?
Cloak is versus the Pathfinder check, so it's an opposed interface roll.
So give me that interface roll. I have a number for the thing.
-2.
You cannot tell when the netrunner has, or if there has. You can figure out there was a netrunner, but you cannot figure out what he did in here or how long ago.
Okay. Yeah, I'll add that data to the data pool about this mission.
All right.
Together with the layout update for the maps, etc.
All right.
And then I'll make my way up.
Okay, cool. So it'll take you another couple of minutes or so, but you'll join them soon. Connor, you do notice that on the other side of the wall, and the rest of you as well, as if you're sort of glancing around, the writing graffitied on this side of the wall seems to have been several times. She's calling. Here she's just like, I brought the darkness, written several times. And then you see a couple of other ones here on this wall. This wall seems to have a much larger variety of text. which I'll use your previous perception roll for this room. You do notice several ones above the data repository and above the dress, specifically carved in on the wall. One of them saying, "I extinguished the night," and another one is, and then again similar, several times written out, "I brought the darkness." And then you notice the screen flicker in stark contradiction to what appears to be relatively blame-filled text. The screen does flicker every now and then. "You did nothing wrong," and it flashes only like for half a second and then it disappears. And
is there anything unusual in these rubbish piles, or is it just like food waste and stuff?
Most of it is food waste. You do notice that there's a bucket to the side that might be used for someone must be coming and clearing it out at some point, but it seems to be used as a sort of a
Chamber pot.
Yeah, essentially. The rubbish itself, at a quick glance, you don't notice anything out of the ordinary in it as such. Just a quick glance, kibble packets, sort of thrown up like, just stuff that you would need to sort of live for a while, potentially. Some of the rubbish is very old, and you're wondering why it's piling up here as much as it is, or like if someone is sort of tending to her. Why are they not clearing this out as well? But
I'm gonna send a private message to Gage, just on my agent, so I want to say it out loud. I'm like, she seems to be getting on with you. Can you ask her, say something? Can you ask her for permission for me and Forge to look at the data drive over there? If it's okay for us to approach it. I just send that to Gage.
all right. She at this point has sat Gage down. She's looked at the food. She's looked at all of you. She goes, "Please sit." Her voice is worn, and it's definitely old. You can tell it's the same voice that Ward heard earlier, but it's there's a property to it that seems to be almost like kind of grinding slightly. Just kind of creates an uncomfortable feeling in the back of your mind.
Oh, we sitting down?
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
I just kind of crouch.
Okay.
I think I'm already sat down. I don't think I have a choice in the
You
matter.
you were pushed down already. So
Taking a knee.
okay. Ward and Connor.
I'll just, Woody, take a knee,
Okay.
kind of crouch down, leaning on my assault rifle.
She shifts over slightly towards her bed, like, and then just kind of like sits there cross-legged. She seems more as looking like an excitable child that has just received friends round for a tea party than anything else.
I'll motion to Gage to put a cover on that because you said she had a short dress on. No, don't want to see that. But where I am, can I see under the bed or is it right on the floor?
Sorry, say that again.
Is her bed on the floor, like mattresses?
It's just a mattress that's kind of folded up against the floor.
I'm gonna sit down, I guess, too. By the way, but I'm gonna imitate her body language a bit.
Okay.
And not so I'll sit cross-legged like she is, and kind of just try to match her body language.
You
like,
notice,
match her,
you notice as you start sitting kind of cross-legged, she kind of opens her eyes and then puts her legs in a more female-like fashion, laid on top of each other, sideways, almost as if there's like people here, people.
Don't get many visitors, miss.
She sort of looks at you, just goes, like absent-mindedly moves her eyes towards you, and then her face again turns into a smile. She goes, no, you're the first in a while. Well, some others come here and take care of some stuff, but they don't really. I don't think they're supposed to talk to me.
The ones with the funny faces, all cut up with the multiple eyes.
Yeah.
They don't talk to you, huh?
They don't talk to me. No. I asked them. They don't talk to me. sometimes I get angry and mad when they don't talk to me.
We've heard you've been for walks lately.
I get really bored in here. You would get bored in here too, trust me.
Oh, I'm bored already. Maybe we could move you out of here. Is there any reason you have to stay?
She goes, and her eyes glow up, and then they turn into like something, like a moment of sudden realization that enters her mind, and she goes, I can't leave. I can't leave. I can't leave. I can't leave.
Why not, sweetheart? What's wrong? I mean, you shouldn't be staying in a conditions like this. We
goes,
can get you somewhere more comfortable.
No, it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. I can't leave.
What are you afraid of?
No. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm afraid of what the city will think of me. I'm afraid of what I'll do to the city. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm afraid of what the city will do to me. I'm afraid of what I'll do to the city. Some really incredibly schizophrenic sort of tendencies, or not. She seems to be toggling between several modes. Her personality seems to be shifting ever so slightly.
But I'll just be like, yeah, I understand. It must be very difficult, frustrating.
She goes over and like goes, please help yourself. Help yourself. I prepared this. And she grabs a piece of thing from the packet.
Thank you.
The packet that Ward has thrown to her. But yes.
So, if you don't want to leave, would it be okay? Could we trade you something for this thing over here, or is this something that's important to you?
She sort of darts her eyes towards it. She goes, no, this is my only memory. You can't have those. You can't have those. No.
But I look at it. Look at your memory. I won't not to take it. I just want to look.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Okay.
She
Okay.
she takes a look at you and sort of goes and looks over there. Which one do you want to look at?
Show me your favorite.
She kind of gets up and then starts walking towards the where the data bank is, and that dress and the glove. She moves the glove out of the way and picks up her dress. And it's a dress that you could tell was probably made for her at some point. It's a very slim sort of female looking gala looking kind of dinner dress. It's beautiful, but it's also old. You can see that it's starting to tear at the edges. You can see that maybe, it's definitely deteriorated to a degree, and you can't tell how old it is really. The color has faded beyond compare, and as she's sort of holding it, you notice darker blotches going down one side of the dress, all the way down. The dress is red, but it's fading. Those blotches are ever so slightly darker. You could figure that they might be dried up blood, potentially. Almost turning sort of black in color. She goes, I wore this to a very special person bought it for me. He said I looked really good in it. I wore this. It reminds me of him. It reminds me of him. Him. And her eyes start growing ever so slightly, seemingly being triggered by thinking about him too hard.
I'll just change the subject real fast. I'm like, well, show me some of the other stuff.
When Clarissa and Connor kind of moved off to the side there, Woody started wondering where Forge was.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, just looking behind him.
At this point, Forge, if you'd like to come through, you'd be able to, at this point, sort of catch up to them. And would have sort of arrived. So, Forge does make his way through the door.
I'm gonna kind of motion Forge to come join me because I really want him to look at this data bank thing. But I already sent him that message too, so.
Alright. She goes, that's my favorite. The others I keep for memory. She puts it back and she is really careful with how she presents it back compared to some of the other stuff that's just sort of strewn around the room. This thing is presented meticulously. It's placed meticulously, and she places the glove on top of it again, and she sort of looks at you, and then goes, "Would you like to dance?"
Sure, why not?
Dance
I'd love
check.
to, Clarissa.
Chloe is like sitting there, just looking like incredibly cautious.
But can I? Before we dance, can I just ask about that? And I just point at the databank.
She looks
Is
down.
that
at it.
yours?
She goes, "It's his, it's his." And as you sort of say that, I need you to roll me a brawling check, please.
Oh,
As
this
she
is gonna be good.
gets right up to you, and sort of as she says that, and she was sort of kind of getting ready to dance, and you remind her of this.
I got a -1.
She grabs. She comes to sort of grab you, but then you sort of ask about it. She turns around, and then as she moves around, she's not aware of where her hand is going. It buffets you as she turns around incredibly quickly, and you fly 15 feet back. And you see sparks coming out of her hand very briefly.
Shit.
Shit. I kind of looking at my damage, like if I'm bleeding or hurt or anything.
You're not bleeding. The armor sort of absorbed any sort of physical trauma that you would have. It wasn't meant to harm as such. You'd figured it was an accident from quick movement, but you're on your ass and it fucking hurts. Like the wind has been sort of taken out from your chest a little bit. She goes, and she's standing there in sort of like a dancing pose, like ready, and she just goes, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," and she sort of like comes up to you, and Chloe sort of puts her hand up to her and just goes, "I've got this," and it sort of helps you get up. She goes, "I ruin everything I touch. I ruin everything I touch."
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It was just an accident. I understand, but I think I just need to take a few rounds out. I'm a little bit sore. I'll probably, if I try dancing right now, I'll probably just hurt myself.
She
But it's
goes,
okay. It's not your fault.
she looks at you really intently. All right, what are the rest of you doing?
I see Forge come into the room, and I just kind of start walking my way towards him.
As she sort of starts moving away from you, you notice that as she does, some of her joints freeze up a little bit, and the electricity sort of the sparks fly more presently, and from between the joints, and she sort of like freezes up a little bit in a position, and she just sort of like her head starts twitching slightly, and then she sort of looks at you again, and she goes, and she starts trying to move again. It lasts a few seconds or so, but
I'll take a close look around the room and also scan for any access points if they're available.
sure thing. Roll me the scanner check, and I like the new one. That's cool. And yeah, just roll me a general perception for the room. Cool. Having a look around the room, the same thing that the other guys saw, which is mainly speaking writing on the wall that's been etched with something. You do notice that as you're sort of coming in and you're taking a bit of a closer look around, you do notice that there are blood splatters against this wall here, which the rest of you sort of trying to take the room in would have also noticed at some point. The blood splatters themselves kind of go. It's an arc, or rather a straight line of blood, and the blood splatters are sort of going up from there. It doesn't seem to be too old, you figure.
Lovely.
So all this time she's been moving around. Could I get closer to her bed and see if I could spot the mine remote?
You can try to, for sure. How are you doing so, though? Are you trying to like sort of watch for her being distracted and then moving around, or?
Just casually walking over,
Okay.
like you said there was a book on the table, so I'll just be looking at the book, looking, like, I don't know, looking just for some kind of remote clicker or something.
Okay. And on your scanner check, the data bank does count as an access point for that one as well. So the one that's pushed next to the TV. Roll me a. The thing is, are you actively going to open up some of the drawers or look underneath the mattress? No. If you're just
No.
looking, just a perception check. But yeah, if you're going to do anything more active, roll me a conceal reveal. I mean, it's still not bad because you're kind of close to it and you can still sort of see a lot of the stuff that's in front of you. There isn't any immediately obvious remotes, nothing even electronic as such. There is a book on the foot of the bed that seems to be very old. And actually on second inspection, it's not like a printed book. It might be more of a journal or something of notes. Next to it, there is a small data shard that you can sort of see poking out of the bottom of the mattress ever so slightly.
If she's distracted, I'll try to pick up the data shard.
Okay. She is distracted, sort of passively as you sort of make your way through. I'd say that if you did this at the same time, you look back and she's sort of helping Connor at this point, and Chloe's got her attention. So you do kneel down and you do manage to pick up the data shard quite easily, and then sort of get back up again and look back, and she hasn't seemed to notice.
Woody sees Forge come into the room and is just kind of like nervously walking up to him under his breath, like, we got to get this thing and get out of here as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's over next by the TV, isn't it? Looks like I can access it, but I need to get in range, which means going past Clarissa.
I'll try to corral Clarissa to the other side. So I come up and just kind of join Connor and Chloe with Clarissa here.
And I'll suggest, like, hey, Clarissa, do you like music?
She looks at you. Yes. Oh, I do. I love music.
My friend here, Gage, he's a fantastic musician. I bet you if you tell him what your favorite song is or a tune or a kind of music you like, I'm sure he can play it. I love listening to music. Want to go sit down over there and just listen to some music?
She sort
We'll
of
pretend like we're at a concert. It'll be fun.
She takes a step over and goes, okay. She sort of looks around. Who's Gage?
I kind of look over at Gage. I'm like, your friend over there, the one you talked to first.
His
Hey,
name
Gage,
was John.
we're gonna play make believe. We're gonna pretend we're having a big concert.
He said his name
You're
was
the
John.
rock star. We're gonna be the audience.
She starts turning her voice up. She's like, he said his name was John.
Wait,
Oh,
do I hear
shit.
this? Do I hear this?
Yeah, really loudly.
Oh,
Okay.
Gage is his stage.
Roll
We're
me,
playing make believe. Remember?
roll me a persuasion check.
Damn it, Con, I just got back. No. I'm on 15 health. If you fuck this up for me, man.
I got a 20. So
She looks at you quite intently, and then for a while she goes, Gage, John, can you play Clay the Loon?
I'm guessing. I guess I can.
I don't even know if you know what Claire de Lune is. You're like, your
that-
character's
that's
like
Gage.
18 years old.
Yeah, none of this Gage is like, I can try.
Okay. Roll me an education check and to see if you know what Claire de Lune is.
Oh no.
You don't know what Claire de Lune is, unfortunately, off the top of your head.
could I maybe help him out somehow, or one of us, like maybe try to look up like the music notes for it on our agent and send it to him?
Do I know?
She's looking really expectant right now. She's like really expectantly sort of at his guitar and at him, and she's just, can you play it for me?
Can you just give me a second?
Woody goes, how's that one go again?
She looks
Clarissa?
She looks at you.
Oh. Not what I had in mind.
She goes, play it.
as the monkey I am going to dance for this woman and play the song to the best of my ability. Is that just a
Okay.
normal play instrument check?
It's a normal play instrument check, but what are you playing?
The notes that she just tried
The
to
notes she just
spew
did?
out of her mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Connor, you do very specifically know that those are not the notes to Claire de Lune or anything
Yeah.
remotely associated to that, but
Oh well, let's try it.
Go for
I'm
it.
gonna fail this so hard. Let's
What?
go.
if there was anything that Rocker Boy is going to be able to do.
Thank God. Thank God.
Okay. You do start playing that tune specifically, and as you play it, her eyes like sort of light up, and she goes, "The night is dark," and she's sort of you're putting your soul into it. She sort of like starts moving around in a very sort of dance-like, whimsical manner, and she sort of goes and over to the data bank towards the battle glove, and she sort of takes the battle gloves and puts it on, and several of you recognize it as a battle glove as she starts lifting it up in the air.
I'll just like wave at Gage to stop playing.
Gage is like abruptly stops. You can tell he's in his groove. He is like, if you've seen the movie Soul, he is in that place where like he's fully.
So it does take you a second or two to kind of really like catch what's happening as Connor's like frantically telling you to stop, but she sort of goes, and then the night extinguished, and she sort of looks up at you, and she starts darting towards Gage.
Hey, Clarissa, do you like stories?
I need you to roll me an initiative.
Oh! No.
Wait, everyone? Or...
Everyone is everyone in the room.
Oh no. Okay, 14. Oh no. I don't like where this is going. I treated her well.
This is why she doesn't get many visitors. Certainly no repeat visitors.
God damn it.
That is.
I don't want to kill an old lady.
I mean, I was messaging Ward on my agent earlier. I just did it through my DM chat about, can we just shoot her in the back of the head and take what we need and leave?
Typical corpo, man.
I was like, maybe we should have just done that while she was distracted.
Okay. Ward 15. Let's got that. Woody, did you roll?
Yeah, I had to.
Oh,
Refresh
that's fine. No
everything,
worries.
so-
Okay, and then Chloe.
Yeah, mine's not coming through for. Oh, there it is. Finally.
Oof.
Fine, Chloe.
Wow, Chloe managed to roll low for once.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
actually got active.
Is that the first time Chloe's got a nat one?
I think that was
first time.
that must be the first time she's actually got
Um,
that one.
I'm definitely gonna rub it in her face after this mission. I
Oh.
was faster than her.
Yes, finally.
Okay.
call her a slowpoke.
Okay, start. Right. You do notice that Clarissa just. Oh, let me. This map is on feet again, isn't it? Let me just quickly change that to 2 meters. Alright, there you go. Cool. So she will dart across the room to where Gage is, and then, like, sort of stare him in the eyes, and then, with the battle glove, grab him around the neck, and try to
No.
lift him up. I need you to roll me a brawling check.
Ah, shit. Well. Ah, shit.
She lifts you up, begins to lift you up against the wall. She goes, "That cursed tune!" And she's holding you there. That's her turn. Ward, your turn.
So Ward will he'll grab her and be like, whoa, this is why you don't get very many return visitors. You can't treat guests like this. And I'll grab her and try to drag her. If I successfully grab her, I'll continue moving with her around the corner.
Okay.
I have a plan of throwing her off the stairs onto that mine down there.
Okay.
If we could make that happen, that would be
So
excellent.
roll me a brawling check against her.
She is a -2 for having
She
gate.
is. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna die here.
Classic.
I'm dead.
We got you.
You,
Oh wait, I do have my fumble recovery going, so that's actually just a 15.
for just a 15. Still doesn't beat her at -2, so she sort of drops. So she's sort of holding, and as you get closer to her, she just sort of looks at you, and you try to get to grab her, and she just puts her hand out, and you instinctively step back as you see her hand unfolds and presents a mantis blade that comes out of her left arm. Right arm still with the battle glove holding Gage up. Okay.
Well, that's it for me.
Gage, your turn. You're grappled
Well-
currently. You can feel free to try and break out if you like, or try and
Can
take
I
a shot
speak?
at her. You can speak,
Speak?
yeah, you can speak. She's not crushing your windpipe yet, so you can speak.
Right. I'm going to attempt to roll a persuasion to try and get her to stop the madness.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to attempt that.
Okay,
Let's go. Please. please.
but you'd have to tell me what you're trying to persuade her with. Like,
Oh yeah, right. Well, that was being shouted. Okay. Come on. Is this? You told me to play that song. Come on. Come on. Can we stop this, please? Can we just talk like people?
okay, roll me a persuasion check.
Please work. I'm pressing it, but it's not.
You might need to relog potentially, sometimes.
All right, after.
Yeah, just give me that quick
refresh
relog. That's fine. No worries.
Wait, I'm getting an error. Error 502 bad gateway.
That's not good. Refresh it again.
Oh, that
see if
was
I can-
happening the other night as well when their servers died.
Okay.
This close to switching to Foundry. This close.
They
Andre,
fixed it
come on.
within 15 minutes.
Okay, hang on. I might be able to rejoin now. Oh, stop playing. Hooray! Back to being choked out.
Yeah.
Now let's see me get like a nat 1 on persuasion. That'd be so funny.
Jinx yourself.
just so you guys are aware, by the way.
I did. I got a nat 1.
You
I
did?
don't believe this shit.
Jinx yourself.
She.
So 4 out of the last 5 rolls in this chat are nat ones. Are
yeah.
we sure we don't want to switch to Foundry right
This is
now?
getting.
Yeah, right now.
This is getting serious now.
She needs to start rolling in chat. We want her to have those nat ones too.
Please
Okay, I'll let her roll in chat. That's fair.
give
I
her the chat look. Please.
I will give her. I'll give her the chat treatment because it's clearly not nice today. All right, so you do sort of. Here's what I'll say, because you are taking your action to sort of try and calm her down, and you're trying to sort of figure this out. Roll me a deduction check, very briefly, just to sort of piece together maybe what you would have seen around or anything potentially. Because that persuasion ain't working. I'll tell you that much. But
All right, my base deduction is 5. Let's see.
You'll be
Let's see how
fine.
bad this goes.
You'll be fine.
Not again.
Oh, there you go.
10.
Okay.
Hooray. Better than that. Better than
Alright.
persuasion.
He's just, as you're being strangled there, there's a brief moment of clarity in your eyes as you're sort of darting around the room and looking at her, and then trying to put some stuff together here. As she's holding you there, you sort of look around. She seems... This song is clearly a trigger for her. Hearing it externally seems to trigger her. And then you sort of look around the room and you notice all of the iconography around her blaming herself quite heavily for something. So that's as much as you'll get with a 10. But she still carries on holding you there, maybe even pressing a bit harder. But Forge, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'll make my way over here. That's still too far, so I'll run and sit down next to the data bank.
Okay.
Oh my god.
That puts you within range of it, so that's good. Are you jacking in as an action as well?
No, I used the run action.
Ah, you used
To
the run
make it
action.
that way.
Right, cool. No worries. Connor, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a similar thing with like Gage, do a persuasion check. I'm just gonna be like, Clarissa, we're friends. Friends don't hurt friends. It's not your fault. Please let your friend down.
Okay, roll me a persuasion. Worth noting, all of you have your luck back from last session. Just
Oh shit.
yeah, just to note that because it refreshes every session, not every night. So yeah, not every.
Back to 7. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Absolutely. So as you try to talk to her, she sort of looks over at you, goes, "Friends, don't hurt each other," and she drops Gage to the side. Here, he falls prone.
Friends help each other.
Eyes wide. And I'd say that's... You can move on your turn, but that's the action for speech. Woody, it's your turn.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just gonna move here, and I have my shotgun ready. I'm just gonna hold my action. Seems like these guys are trying to talk our way out of it if we can. So I'm just keeping myself between her and Forge here, trying to block her vision somewhat, I guess, but also just ready my action in case anything happens.
Okay. Alright. So, that's your turn. Chloe will actually go over to you. And she is not brandishing her weapon. She puts her weapon on yours and sort of tells you to lower it. Because as she's... Then she points at her eyes. And Clarissa's eyes are darting to your weapon. And then she seems to be incredibly alarmed. And like takes a very hostile approach. So Chloe, while her hand is on her weapon, does not lift it up and holds her action as well. Okay, Clarissa's turn. She looks at all of you. She sort of goes, "You're all here to kill me. You're all here to take me away, aren't you? You're all here to make me pay for my sins." And she will dart past you, both you, Woody and Clarissa, Woody and Chloe, at a very fast speed. I need both of you to roll me evasion checks.
Alright, I'm gonna use luck.
Okay. And Chloe, yeah. Chloe moves out of the way just in time as she sees this happening. You also easily move out of the way. Both of you kind of split to one side or the other, and just avoid getting buffeted by her with the sheer speed that she darts across. She goes and sits next to the dress and just puts her head against the dress,
Okay, then I just use 1 luck.
which is yeah, that's fine. She ends her turn sitting next to the dress. Ward, it's your turn.
All right, so I'll say to her, I'll say, "Clarissa, you seem distressed, and I think this room is not good for you. Come with me. Let's go visit the other room, and we'll get out of here. You can see a little bit more of this area. You're distracted in here.
Okay.
You seem."
You do notice the moment that you say that to her, her eyes open wide at the words "Let's get you out of this room," and there's just a like this glance of fear that fills her entire peripheral. Like just the entire vision is just filled with this. Like she's seen a ghost and she's refusing to accept it, almost to accept the idea of leaving this room. You would figure that she's very adamant about not leaving this room.
What is it that you think that you did that's so bad that everybody will hate you? Like why do you think the city will judge you? Why do you think you have to pay for your sins? What have you done? Can't you just confess your sins and be done with it?
She goes, no, they made me. At this point, that would sort of be your combat round. Unless anyone else wants to take a super hostile action, you guys can sort of drop out of combat if you like, because she's just sitting next to the stress. So just let me know, otherwise, so I can sort of semi-drop combat if you like. because she's not actively attacking anyone.
Yeah, I'm not doing any hostile action.
Yeah, me either. Since
So, Ward, roll me a persuasion check.
Oh, nice.
Very good, very nice. She
Lucky.
Okay, so she will sort of like look up at, like, look down, carry on looking down on the floor, and she will just, like, almost absent-mindedly, I took their night. I took their night away from them.
Like John Light or Stephen Light? Who's the guy who built the city?
Richard Knight.
Richard Knight?
She goes, sort of looks around and goes, Richard, I'm sorry. Richard. And she starts sort of stroking the dress and, like, holding it closer.
Was he
But
your
they
friend?
made you do it. It's not your fault.
Them. That's as much as she'll say there.
We can help you get back at those people that made you do this. We just need this to look at your memories, your data store here. Will you let us do that, Clarissa?
She goes, I haven't. She sort of looks over at it. It was his greatest work. He loved it more than he loved anything else.
You're talking about Richard.
Richard.
Well, my parents were friends with Richard. They worked with him. I think he'd want us to see it.
Sure.
Who are your parents? Maybe she knows them.
Yeah, I'll mention my parents' names.
She doesn't seem to react to them. As you mentioned them, she seems absent-mindedly staring. She goes, Richard. I extinguished the night. I brought darkness to the city.
Was it your fault?
It was me. I killed him. And she sort of lifts the battle glove up. I killed him.
But you did nothing wrong. They forced you to do it, didn't they?
Why don't you put the battle glove down, Clarissa? You're scaring us.
I'm sorry. Would you like to have some food? I don't have any biscuits. I don't have any tea. She sort of like starts frantically looking around.
Well, maybe. Who is it that brings you the tea and the food here normally? Like, why are they keeping you in this room? Why are they helping you like this?
I don't know. They think I'm some messiah or something. Declan likes me a lot. I don't know why. He just doesn't hate me.
I kind of want to get her away from Forge. Like, Clarissa, come here. I want to show you something. I have a gift for you.
Roll me a persuasion check.
And as I'm saying that, I'm pulling out like a comb from my personal care kit.
All the meanwhile, Forge, you're more than welcome to have remotely jacked into it if you'd want to.
And I'm holding just my comb from my grooming kit.
I'm waiting
Holding it.
if she's moving or not.
Okay.
You know, because I lose all senses without the virtuality goggles.
Very much
So I don't want to sit
become a
right next to a
meatbag.
maniac.
Connor, what are you holding up?
Just like a comb from my grooming kit.
Oh, okay.
I see like a dress and she has long hair. That might be it. I'm like giving her a comb just as like a gift. Girls like combs, maybe. I don't know.
She sort of looks hesitant at you. Chloe, noticing this, goes over to you, grabs the comb. I can do your hair if you like. Clarissa sort of looks up at her, and with your persuasion, as both of you are sort of like beckoning her, she moves slowly over. And Chloe begins slowly brushing Clarissa's hair.
Doesn't that feel nice?
She looks at you, sort of looks back. And like a smile is on her face, and she's just sort of like absent-mindedly staring at the floor. and she's sort of like, it seems like she's recollecting memories potentially. Yeah, what do the rest of you want to do?
You mentioned a data shard and a diary. I wanted to kind of get the data shard and then maybe casually pick the book up when she's not looking.
You notice that Chloe is sort of brushing her hair, making her sort of look towards the other side of the room, like that she's sort of gently like making sure that she's not facing you guys. And Connor's also sort of blocking some of the vision. So you do go.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we're making her look here in the corner where this where we walked in, like that area.
Around here somewhere, I'd guess is her vision currently. You'd guess is her peripheral. She's also staring at the floor right now, like right in front of her.
We'll just keep distracting her so the other guys can get the job done and get what they need.
Ward, you do pick up the book. On the outside of it, it reads, Knight's Journal.
It's old?
It's old, at least in excess of about 80 years. The book is ancient, by the looks of it.
Yeah. What about the data shard?
The data shard looks like a more newer version. This doesn't look like it was produced 80 years ago. This looks like it was maybe last 30 or 40 years, maybe.
I'll take it. I'll offer it to Woody because he probably has a reader or something that he can check it out with. I certainly don't.
Okay.
I don't have chipware or anything.
Wouldn't it be like just an agent? Can you stick it in an agent or something?
This is a chipware socket shard that you would have to plug at the back of your brain.
Never
Yeah, I
mind.
don't have that. We'll just hold on to it.
Have we noticed that either Chloe or Connor has chipware in their head?
Connor, do you have chipware?
I have like the memory chips, a bag of them, and I gave some to Forge earlier.
But the actual chipware socket at the back of your spine. Do you have those?
Oh, that I
The
don't think I do.
cyberware.
Shit.
I'm checking. Chloe does not have it. No.
No, I don't. I just have the cyber audio and some internal. Yeah, I don't have it.
Then you can analyze data shards using like netrunners are able to analyze them as well using cybertext and things like that potentially, but yeah, unless you have a chipware socket you can't directly plug into it. Yeah, but you do pick up the journal. It's in your hands.
I'll slip it in my coat. I'll pick up some crackers, offer her some crackers while she's getting her hair done, and kind of like motion to forge. Motion to forge for the data shard.
I think while that's going on, I actually use that time and jack in while she's distracted.
Okay.
If I get the sense like we're losing her attention a bit, or she's getting bored and looks like she wants to get up, I'm gonna start telling her. I'll say, "Oh, I have a good story," and I'll start going into this tale, like once upon a time, blah blah blah, and I'll tell her some Irish myth about like Sean and Neve going to the land of eternal youth. One of those Irish myths,
Okay.
like folk tales,
All right.
just
Roll
to
me
kind of like get her attention.
roll me a general like acting or an acting check, or maybe a conversation check even.
Yeah, but, well, it'll be storytelling, so yeah, I guess conversation would work.
Yeah, a conversation would probably work. Forge,
I mean, like, is it? I don't know.
Yeah. So, Forge, you do jack into the architecture. Feel free to roll me a Pathfinder check if you like, but it's...
I'll first throw on the Seer booster, which gives me +2 to the Pathfinder check.
It's not rolling for some reason.
You might have to
I see
relog.
it.
Jeez.
Whoa!
Nice. So,
Okay, then.
25 in Pathfinder check. Just in case it was ever messed with, I probably know who and why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, nicely, nice good karma for your previous nat 1 on the other one. But you do sort of jack yourself into the architecture and immediately notice this is old architecture. Like the code, everything here is ancient, and as you sort of digitalize inside the architecture, some of the stuff is starting to corrupt, but it's showing slight forms of defragmentation, not heavy forms of defragmentation, still traversable. The architecture has a total of 14 levels, and it is heavily secured all the way down. And this is only because you rolled a fantastic Pathfinder check. You would on an average day, you're surprised that you can even tell it has 14 levels. You can tell that past level 5, there is heavy early versions of what you would assume are black ice presence. They act like black ice, and you can see them in the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Past level 5. Before level 5, it's password encrypted secured. You don't see any black ice. You don't see any anti-personnel tooling. The first password that you come across is a DV14 password. That would be on the very first level. Yeah.
Okay. What do we have on the second?
The second level seems to contain once past that password. It's hard to tell. You can only tell how many nodes rather than what those nodes are because the password's obscuring their presence. But again, fantastic
My
Pathfinder check.
checked it, so
Yeah, the fantastic Pathfinder check will tell you that there are at least 4 nodes in the second level, and then another passwords blocking all of the nodes, passwords blocking every single level from then on out, with similar DVs like DV14 passwords. The reason that they're so difficult for you, so in game, the reason that they have such a high DV is you immediately notice that they are very old encryption, but very custom encryption. Like these are not public. These were either handwritten by a netrunner for this purpose. Like for you have not seen them around, at least in your time, and you've seen some old shit like rolling with the reclaimers and stuff. You've seen some old encryption. This is very custom written algorithms. You can tell that the first level, I'd say after, like, if you were to get past that password, those nodes seem to be at least probably data containing. Again, I'm trying to deal with a 25 on a Pathfinder check, so I'm trying to be as nice as I can. You can tell that those are probably data related nodes on the first level, past the first passwords.
So on the first level, there's data nodes as well.
There are 4 nodes there.
Okay, I thought that was the second level because
Sorry,
you answered
yeah,
after.
my bad. Sorry. So on the second level, it's 4 nodes. On the first level, it's just a password allowing you to get to the next levels.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always imagine it as like top floor and then first, second. Like, yeah, it's my bad.
Do you have any more passwords on level 3 to 5?
Each of them is encrypted with a password as well. Multiple passwords behind multiple nodes. Each node seems to be encrypted by itself. So every single thing. This you figure that this is something that like you would have to sit down and really like work your way through. Like this would be like a chunky piece of thing to sort of get through. Here's another interesting thing that you do notice, sort of though, as you are in the architecture, you do notice that the fragmentation is caused due to potentially this thing having lived without power for a little while on some of the areas.
Mm-hmm.
Although most of it is intact, and you hope that most of it is intact, you do notice that the fragmentation is worse at the lower levels going up. You could tell that like the most you could probably keep this unplugged without it sort of completely corrupting itself is it has what would be equivalent to a 5 to 10 minute capacitor inside that would sort of hold a little bit of energy to keep it going for a very brief period of time as almost like a very emergency sort of backup in case of a power outage. The designers of this old ass sort of data repository storage thing seem to have designed it with that in mind at least. And you could sort of unplug it for a very brief period of time, but you'd have to have a consistent supply of 20 volts in order to keep it going.
The battery that guy had in his shack, would that suffice?
It was a small generator, wasn't it?
That generator would, if you were having a think about that generator would, you'd have to regulate it. That generator would blow it. It would be providing way more than 20 volts. It's not very energy hungry, so that's good. But yeah, you need to be providing at least over like 80, 100, 200, 300 volts. You don't know how much that generator is producing.
I could probably take out my laptop battery and hook that up.
Could potentially work, yeah. The only other thing is that you do notice that this is not solid state technology as such, or like this is hard spinning discs in here, and heavy physical trauma to this device would also ruin it heavily.
Okay, I'll spend 3 actions taking my time to do a +1 backdoor check against the DV14 password.
Okay.
A11, that'd be a fail.
Spend a minute or so trying to work on it. What are the rest of you doing in the meantime? So Connor, you're sort of telling her a story. The conversation check, you're keeping the story engaging. She's sort of looking around, and then she sort of like looks up at you during the story and looks up at Chloe, who's trying to drag this out as long as possible, but she's got her hair pretty straight now. She sort of looks around and just goes to looks at you as in like, what are we doing?
And then, well, I'm getting to the part of the story now where I'm talking about how Neve is riding across the ocean in her white horse, and I talk about like how she was this golden hair maiden. I'm like, do you want Chloe to do your hair like Neve in the story?
She goes,
Before she meets the king of Tirnanook, the mystical land.
I met the king once. I met him in his high tower. She starts talking over your story a little bit as you sort of make that suggestion to her. She goes, No, he liked me the way I was. He accepted me for who I was.
Fine.
Oh, great.
He wanted to spend the rest of his life with me, he said.
And then what happened?
And then I realized he was fucking married. He never told me.
That's not fair.
And she starts like sort of like getting angry again, and she continues.
I'm gonna try to calm her down. Like, I'm gonna try to change the subject. I'm just gonna be like, oh, but you haven't heard the end of the story yet. And I start going in about what Neve does as she gets to the island, and the adventures she has as she gets to this land of eternal youth.
Like a child, she starts looking at you, incredibly angry, and she just doesn't want to hear the story anymore. It's like, and as she sort of gives you that glance, you instinctively pull back a little bit on the story because her hands start moving. Chloe also starts sort of like, not backing up, but kind of just being cautious with her. She goes, she kind of looks around. She goes, you know, I still think about him every day. I don't know how long it's been, but I think about him every day. And he keeps coming, visiting me in my dreams. And he keeps smiling at me with that same smile. And he keeps laughing with me and buying me those nice things.
I'm so sorry. I wish there was something I could do, but... And then I'm kind of like, does she have any like jewelry on or anything on her hands?
She doesn't have any jewelry on her hands, but you do notice that she has a very beautiful diamond necklace, which has dirt over it that definitely takes away from the shine, but you can tell that this is a very pretty sort of diamond necklace.
Well, I take off one of my 4 rings, like one that looks maybe one of the nicer looking ones. I'm like, do you like this ring?
Sort of looks at it. Are you proposing to me? Chloe's eyes go wide. Like,
this isn't that kind of ring.
She still has the battle glove on, right?
She
You took that
still
off,
has.
Right? Oh.
No, she's. He asked her to take it off, but she sort of carried on holding to it at that point. So yeah, her left arm has retracted from being a mantis blade. But
I'm like, no, this isn't that kind of ring, Carissa. This ring, if you wear it, it's a friendship ring, you could say. It gives you good luck.
Okay.
It's a
It was given to me as a gift, and if you like it, you can. I have have 3 rings. If you want this one, you can have it as a gift to another friend. And I'm just trying to keep her eyes away from Forge. I'm just kind of bullshitting away
Well,
here now. So
roll me that persuasion check again.
I really don't want to give her my ring, but I just don't want her to look backwards.
Makes sense.
They can get it off of her dead body and convince everyone else to kill her later. But
She sort of looks at you.
I
Grabs-
can't see it.
Grabs the ring.
Oh, 17.
Yeah, she grabs the ring and she just sort of starts putting it, like holding it. And she just goes, "You have to put it on me." She sort of lifts up her left arm, her left hand.
I will put it on the finger that is not the finger for, getting married. I'll make it clear that it's going on it. Like,
Sure.
Yeah,
You put it on her like index finger, and
yeah.
As
Not the
you-
ring finger.
as you do, sort of like having to lift her arm slightly, her hand slightly to do it, you do notice that her hands, while cybernetic in nature, and you work with cyberware on an almost daily basis, not directly, but at least you've seen a decent amount. The cyberware that she has is incredibly old. This is ancient cyberware. This is,
Like 1990s shit you're talking, or
you can't quite tell. Roll me an education check, actually, if you.
is that when cyberware was invented? I can't remember.
It
though.
was, yeah. Cyberware did come out in the 1990s. You started having gangers accessing cyberware in the 1990s, even. So it became very commercially available at that point. Some of the stuff, her hand is Arasaka made, for sure. Her arm is Arasaka made, which not much Arasaka cyberware was making its way over the pond in America. And the first commercial use of mantis blades was 2015. So, from Arasaka at least. And no one else had developed a mantis blade before then.
I'll just be making an internal note of that
Okay.
for later. And then just kind of like seeing how she reacts to the ring. Does she seem like she's uncomfortable? Does she seem anger?
Oh, she seems to have calmed down a little bit. She looks at it. She looks at you and goes, "Did you ever have someone special who you had to betray? Who you had to extinguish?"
No, I've been fortunate. I've never betrayed anyone, but you probably don't want to hear the story. It's a long story. There were people that betrayed my parents, and it made me very sad. But it's a long story. I don't think you're interested in that, are you?
She looks at you. Almost like a child who you told can't have a story. She just looks more interested now than she was before. She sort of looks around and just goes, "You've been such lovely company. But I think you should go."
I'm just kind of looking over at Forge. Does he look like he's ready to go yet?
I kind of yeah.
Really?
Woody kind
I
of
don't.
nudges.
He was
Chloe
busy
right
for
now.
6 seconds.
Yeah. Woody would have nudged Chloe right now, and like, we gotta get her out of here too. I think.
Wait, it's only been 6 seconds for Forge, so
Yes.
how long have we been
Right.
talking? Like, how
Well,
much of
he's
it's structured?
been. He took his time, so I'd say it was a minute actually with the back door.
No. Taking your time is 3 times as long. Cracking your password is 1 net action, which is
Oh,
1 second.
Right.
And 3 times as long is 3 seconds.
Gotcha.
So how long have I actually been distracting her to give? How many rounds did they get?
You've distracted for a good minute, to be fair. So he has plenty of rounds to go through.
Okay, so maybe we should just catch up with Forge.
Maybe
then,
even 2
and then-
minutes at this point. Like,
Yeah.
So Ward is gonna like sit down with her, kind of get on her level. You said she was kind of squatting down, or no?
she's on the floor again, but this time legs sort of folded together.
All right. And Ward will say, "Who is the name of the man that she said likes me the way I am? Delamain, was it? Or
Declan.
Declan." I say, Clarissa, you seem caught in a loop here. It's time to go. You got to put the past behind you and move on. Declan, he's just using you. Come with us, get out of this hole, and put the past behind you. I've been in your position. I've done the things you've said, and you have to move on. And you If it's just vengeance you need, then we can get you that. But you need to get out of here.
Declan said it's dangerous outside. But
It is
Declan
dangerous, but it's dangerous here too. And I don't think Declan has your best interest at heart. Come on, let's go.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Oh, no.
Internally, I'm just like, what the fuck is he bringing? Like, panicking in my head about her coming with us.
I'm grabbing her arm gently and just starting to lead her towards the door.
Sort of like trying to shrug her. She kind of goes, maybe a bit of fresh air will do me good.
It will, Clarissa. We'll get you some nice tea, some
But
hot
I have
tea.
to take my things. Where's the journal? She goes over to the bed and looks around for the journal, like past you, darting around and starts looking around for the journal. She goes, where is it? Where is it?
I have it right here. I'm keeping it safe for you. I pull it out. I offer it to her.
And the shard Declan gave me.
I got that too, right here. You put them together. She sort of pass them over to her. She looks at you for a second, and then snatches them, and then hugs them really close. These are important to you. I can see that. We'll take the data store too. We'll get everything out of here that's important to you. She goes over. She grabs the dress and drapes it over, like carefully over her arm, and sort of looks around and just goes, "Okay." Did Declan tell you to blow up the tunnel if somebody came for you or something bad happened?
I tried to walk away, and then he said that it would be too dangerous. So he said it was for the best that the tunnel goes, that the stairs go, so that I don't leave, so that no one else comes and hurts me, so that I don't hurt anyone else. I can hurt people sometimes by accident. Yeah, I get that from you. You do seem pretty unaware of how deadly you are. But I don't mean to. I don't mean to. I hate hurting people. I don't like it. I hate it. All right, so I'm leading her out. I'll motion for these guys to grab the data store, and we'll start moving up the hall. Okay. All right. She does move with you. It's a good roll. It was a good persuasion roll, and you guys have been persuading her very nicely the whole time. You can tell that there was some work to do there, but she starts, dress in hand. She looks behind. The data. It was important to him. Make sure it doesn't get damaged. Absolutely, Corliss. All right. Well, you start moving her out at this point, and Forge, what would you like to do? What would you like to have done in the meantime? This takes another 2 minutes or so. So you have plenty of playtime in your
network and like gotten everything.
I will say that with enough time, what is your Netrunner interface rank?
4. But I only have 2 more tries because I can retry when the specifics have changed.
Okay.
So first I'm going to try with consulting my knowledge about cryptography to get a +1. So cryptography check, whatever DV you choose, to get a bonus.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your cryptography. I would say the DV for that would be 16.
Okay, 17. That's exactly enough.
Perfect. So you do manage to get at least a +1 to just consulting. Again, this is you trying to sort of recall some incredibly old ways of working, like how trying to kind of put yourself back in, like how did people in the 90s do cryptography, and that is pushing your limits. But do you manage?
Well, in the 90s would have already been a bit of the Bartmoss.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Crypto. So.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of interested in that part of history.
So consulting that side of things will give you a black +1, and trying to take
I'll add another +1, taking my time for 3 actions, so +2.
Okay.
Another nat 1. Yeah, it's incredible. So I'll do that again, and 1 luck, so +3.
the backdoor check that you've put in is doing such a weird thing with the text because it pushes everything down. But there you go. Now I can see it. So +3 on that one on top of it.
Yeah.
Perfect. You do manage to break the first password, and after a long time of sort of tinkering with it and really like focusing and trying to get past it, you do manage to finally start to figure out at least some of the way that these algorithms are working, at least that these security algorithms are operating, which does benefit you for the next few DVs that you're going to come across actually with these passwords. But you make your way to the second level, and here there are 4 nodes, all password encrypted, each of them.
So it's DV14 to read them, but I can't copy them as a file, right? Because you don't need to decrypt them to copy them.
You can copy them if you want to, and you would be able to keep them, and then you could decrypt them later. I would say that the DV is lowered by Y1 down to 13 because you've started to figure out how some of this algorithm is working.
I'll make copies of those for now. I want to try that later with the right software.
Sure.
That gives a bonus.
Sure thing.
And floor 3 has another password, or?
Yes, the next floor has a password stopping you from progressing further, and then every password and then every floor after that another password. The floor itself, floor 3, seems to have password blocking you from seeing how many nodes actually passed it.
Okay. I'll try that first, just with a normal roll.
Okay. Amazing. So
16.
getting very used to the pattern here, and actually sort of almost reading into the mind of the person who might have written these algorithms. You do manage to, with a little bit of time, tinker around, and now the patterns are becoming more apparent. The password itself, you manage to crack the next one.
How many nodes are there on the third floor then?
There are only 2 nodes, neither of which is directly encrypted. The first node seems to be it's a piece of data, which, even just to save you the time for IDing it very quickly, it's literally just a very simple history of the access, and it's kept history of access of everyone that has accessed this data pool and how far and what they've accessed within it. Now, interestingly enough, this is quite smart because it seems to be relating it to the user, and it has assigned you a user access as you've sort of moved in, like an ID almost, not an actual user, but you see yourself as the first entry in a while, and then you see an actual named user who goes by the name of Richard_N, several times accessing it, maybe once, twice, 3 times a year. 3 times a year on this year, 3 times a year on the previous year, 10 times a year the year before, 20 times the year before that. And this is all like 2077, 2076, 2075. And seems to be accessed a decent amount for the last 70 something years. The next node is the thing that actually is being that Richard N. You can see that the access that Richard_N has been going through has been specifically something on this level, and they've never gone past this level. It seems to be accessing a collection of photos which are on this level, and as you go to the next node, it is a collection of at least 100 something photos and videos.
Okay. Yeah, I'll copy those as well.
Them over.
Floor 4.
As you get to floor 4, there is another password. So
back door. Nope. Taking my time, +1.
Okay.
Probably not enough.
Not enough to get through it.
I'll try giving myself a bonus with my cryptography knowledge again.
Now, the thing is, because you've already used that cryptography bonus,
Mhm.
this is literally just lowered all the DVs for you, kind of going forward,
Okay.
at least. So you'd have that bonus regardless of just the DV being lowered.
Okay. Good, then instead of that, I'll go with my second point of luck for the session. And so 13.
13 still doesn't break it.
Did I not get -1 to the DVs for how well I did on the first 2 floors?
You get a -1 on the first DV, and you get another, and you haven't checked the DVs of all of these yet, but if you were to actually check the DV on this one, out of game, it would be a DV 15. So you notice that it's a much more difficult password. Whatever seems to be here, you get the sense that you might need to go away with some proper software, sit down, and maybe not so much of a nasty environment, like try and take your time with it and really start paying attention. But as you go against that password, you immediately see above you a number appears, and it just shows you 5. And you see the 5 glow, like kind of change at that moment to a 4, the moment that you try to access it.
Okay. I'll jack out.
Okay.
Check back in. Go to the 4th floor. Does the number appear again?
It shows 4.
Okay, so remembers. So an architecture that doesn't reset. Nasty. Good. So that was a good. What?
I'd say all of that you still did within almost like a minute or so. Maybe less than that even, but yeah.
Yeah, that's. What, 4 or 5? 20 seconds.
20 seconds. IDing and just figuring out what those things are, just literally processing it in your mind would have taken you another 20, so maybe 40 total, but yeah.
Good. So yeah, I can't take another crack at that password for now. So I will jack back out and take a look at the device if it looks feasible to hook up my laptop battery to keep it powered.
You have a look at the device and now are kind of interested in where this device comes from, because you've never really seen anything around that really operates like this, at least. There is a large N with sort of 3 stripes making up the logo on top of this data bank. It seems to be a multi sort of, do you know like those NAS type storages? It seems to look a little bit like that. It has several like, layers of what would be hard drives inside, and it seems to be almost a sort of triangle shape, like kind of rounded on either side. As you sort of look behind carefully, like moving it, there seems to be a sort of jerry-rigged power source that has been hooked up to it, that is coming out of the wall. Same thing that's powering the TV above. And coming sort of from the same source of the wall. The actual inlet is still relatively, what you would actually figure is maybe pioneered for its time, but now is actually much more of an accepted inlet, and would not take you very long to actually, because it's already got something going into it, to sort of cut that power and then sort of quickly, with your tech skills at least, not your netrunner skills, but with your tech skills, quickly jerry rig a battery supply to it that you could you'd have to roll for it, but you could hopefully do in under 5 minutes before it might start showing signs of defragmentation.
I mean, theoretically, I could start jerry rigging it before and then cut the other one when the connection is made.
If you want to use the current inlet that is plugged into it, then yes, but I don't know if you'd have one of those inlets on you. You'd either have to go looking around for one, or you could sort of hook up, you could open up the laptop battery hijack its power with 2 cables. The only bit that you'd really have to do is then cut that one and then connect the 2 together, which should theoretically take you less than 5 minutes with a relatively easy TV. You're pretty confident you could do this.
Yeah, I'll go with that variant then.
Okay, cool. So get your tech tools out. Start messing around with your laptop battery. Start rolling me a ES tech check, and easy enough. As you get everything sort of sorted, like kind of put together, at this point Clarissa comes over and sees that you're doing this kind of time wise and how this lines up. Clarissa's only coming over now. She doesn't pay you much attention. She just looks kind of at the dress and grabs the dress, and is starting to go with Ward. You hear Ward's encouragement of getting her out of here, and then you start messing around with it. And as you do, easy enough, you see the RAID storage for a second start to kind of lower the glow that is coming out of it. The lights that are illuminating the top of it, they start faintly dimming, but before they even really fully dim, he's already hooked it up in almost a matter of 5 seconds. So you see the lights come back up again. You get
from checking the power current going through, how long do I estimate the laptop battery will last running this?
With a I would say that you could, with the ESTech check, you could probably figure this out. Actually, I don't know. Looking at the device, making a ballpark estimate as to how much power it's consuming, you figure that you've got maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours before it completely consumes the battery. You also, just for flavor, would get a piece of tape and start sellotaping it to kind of keep it there in place, or would you just like to kind of try and put the battery somewhere else?
Oh, I have duct tape.
Cool. Yeah, you get the duct tape.
I'll do it the American way.
Very well. So you do fasten it onto the laptop, and the battery onto the storage device, and sort of duct tape it around. And you notice that the storage device has a handle that comes with it. So as it folds, it looks really neatly as part of the design, and as you sort of lift it up, it goes like one of those shopping baskets almost style of handles. But yeah, get that up, and as you sort of begin to lift it, it's only about 7-8 kilos maybe. So
it's going to get painful over time.
Yeah, it will definitely give you a sore arm after a while.
Because he's a bit damaged and he's at body 4, so he will.
That's right.
He will change hands quite often.
So I will give you a few caveats to whoever is carrying this. If you're carrying this, if you do engage in combat, you cannot use 200 weapons. You will have to take an action to put it down because of how carefully you have to do it. Otherwise, if you don't want to drop it down and damage it, so it will be an action to put it down. That's and then an action to pick it back up again.
Yeah.
Cool.
Before I leave the room, I'll send another agent message to everyone. A reminder that in the message logs, when Connor was conversing with the other cult members or whoever is behind that, was going to send people through the tunnel.
I'll tell them that I don't think they have to worry about them for now. I took care of it, I think.
So
No, the last logs read that we don't have to worry because they're coming.
So at the end of the last session, Connor messaged me afterwards just saying, and you would have seen this, Forge would have seen this, he sent a couple of extra messages to them that were along the lines of, we're worried about meeting up right outside, and then he gave them a location that was slightly further away, to that effect at least. I can't quite remember the exact wording you sent me.
I warned him that there was Nightcore in the area and that it wasn't safe, and I just picked some random coordinate like 20 minutes away, basically, so that we would be clear.
Cool.
Okay.
So
then I don't send that message.
No worries. As all of you start heading out, Chloe sort of grabs you a little bit and just goes, the car that we have parked outside, we're not going to be able to get all of them out here. Even if it is still there.
I'm thinking to Chloe. Yeah, so actually while Ward was kind of grabbing her and they were talking and she walked away, I would have kind of pulled Chloe to the side anyway too and mentioned mean, we still need to go back to the office tomorrow or the next few days. I mean, she's a liability. What do you think about? Could you swiftly just execute her, shoot her in the back of the head? Killing her is probably a kindness. Put her out of her misery. She's clearly sick.
She looks at you. She just goes, I wouldn't do it. No, I don't. Yeah, I agree she's a liability, but I'm not going to execute her in cold blood. And she then looks at you, like, kind of like looks up. Can you not get the guy that you've been talking to, or whoever the shadowy person is who gave you this crap, as an assignment to just explain to him that we need to source a warehouse or something, like a safe house for a couple of days? If they've got enough money to bankroll this, maybe they've got some connections to be able to do
That's
this.
a good point. But am I able to just contact this guy at any time, or do I have
you
to
have-
be at that terminal?
You have done so at the start of the
Oh, yeah.
session, where he sent you a message. You were able to reply to it. Sometimes he just doesn't reply, but I should.
Okay.
My question about your employer, our employer, is he sent us down here to get this, obviously not knowing what it is. So he had a suspicion, but he doesn't. This doesn't actually belong to him, and he has no idea what it is. Otherwise, he would have given us a power tap to make sure the data didn't get destroyed. He would have sent us with a little warning about who was guarding it. So whoever sent us down here was fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get the same feeling.
But that's okay. We'll surprise him with a bonus.
I think he has an idea of what's down here, but he doesn't know everything. He's holding some back. He's holding something back from us as well.
Is that overcomes or?
I'm just mentioning it, walking down the corridor.
You guys are all sort of bunched up in the corridor at this point, like very far away. Clarissa is within earshot of all of this. You just see her sort of like absent-mindedly staring forward, almost excited that she's about to leave this place, but also scared. She's also shivering ever so slightly as the draft from out here. She's clearly not wearing enough to really
Okay.
keep her guarded.
Then I'll add to that conversation. No, he doesn't know what this is, but he knows who wants it and wants to prevent them from getting it.
Also, if he's holding that thing, I would have put my hand out to take the drive, hold it. I think that's the one hiring them.
So
I'll take
Forge
that.
told us
Like
what,
I'm
what's on.
reaching out to like Forge to like take the data drive from the holder.
Like, shouldn't the guy in the frame carry something that's heavy?
Well, I take off my coat, I unhook the grenade launcher, put it back on my belt, and then I'll put the overcoat on her.
How tall are you?
6'3".
Okay, so it starts dragging on the floor, definitely. But you sort of put it over her, and she just smiles a little bit. She sort of like starts pulling on it slightly. After you unhook the grenade launcher and put it on you, and you're still sort of guiding her at the front. It's worth mentioning. So,
As a quick reference, do I know of any public figures or rich people or people in the media or CEOs named Declan? Like, does that ring a bell?
roll me a roll me an education check potentially. What would you consider your local expert to be? For what?
Well, expert would be like the combat zone where I live.
Okay. Did you place yourself at the NID side of the combat zone, or did you place yourself on the other side? Because there's only two combat zones in 2078, which would be Pacifica and NID, and then tiny parts of Rancho Coronado.
Oh, maybe Kabuki then or something, wherever
Kabuki? All right. Yeah, I'd say just as a supplementary role, give me a local expert role, because it wouldn't be super far from. It's not an easy DV, I'll say, but it's doable. Okay, so the education role is good, and given that your sort of history of investigating.
No, the education role was an 8. The first one was an 8.
Oh, sorry, 8. My bad. Okay. This would be a bit hard for you to figure out. I will say this: you don't know of any large public figures that have the name Declan.
That's fine.
So
As we're walking, I'm sending a message to Casper, of course, saying how we have extra baggage, and she's a bit unhinged and advise caution around her. But she's a liability. We need to put her somewhere.
What do you
I
mean?
kind of send a picture.
He sends it back. It's just, you send a picture? Okay.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, fuck. ... For 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds passed, and he goes, okay, I'm arranging for transport. Get outside immediately.
Amazing.
We'll
And
take
that's
us.
a silver lining. We got the data drive, but the battery will. It's on some battery, and I don't know how long it will last.
Also, tell him that if we're going up the tunnel to get out of here, we're not going to be coming out anywhere near where we went in. So we'll have to radio him our location.
I can send him like a ping, right? That's showing him my location for my agent.
You can share your location on the agent if you like, which would be easy enough. Unfortunately, underground, you don't know how well that's going to work in the sewer
Right.
complex. But the moment that you're outside, this works a lot better. Also, where would you like to go out of? Because you only know of that one exit.
That's
We know we didn't find another exit except the way we came in.
You
There
did find
wasn't one in-
the tunnel. Sorry, my bad. You mean the tunnel that you're going to use? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the escape tunnel or
Cool.
something, whatever.
No worries.
'Cause, yeah,
I mean, time's kind of sensitive, and we only have limited charge on this thing, so I think that's probably the way that we would all agree to go. I assume.
Okay. He goes. He sends you an address, and he goes, in which case, just order a cab or something. Just order something and get to the safe house. That's it.
Well, I guess Woody's car is on the other side where we came in, right?
Potentially, yeah. You
Hey,
don't know where this leads out of, but
I don't
Wait,
want
can you
to.
do that thing? Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was like, would you do that thing from the video game in 2077 where you come in and
but he just dials it, he just comes. That is an upgrade
Yeah.
he can get. It's an autopilot upgrade with remote with remote agent calling feature, but
It's not. Don't have that yet.
yeah.
Well, too bad.
So, Clarissa, there's some undetonated explosives here. We're going to set them off. We're going to get past it. We're going to set it off. Don't be alarmed at the sound. I motion back to these guys and go,
She
hey,
looks at you, and she goes, "I can set them off."
this one's not a remote one, but yours we should set off too, so we don't accidentally kill anybody who comes around snooping.
Okay.
But can I trust you guys? Like, because I think I need to stay with Clarissa here. Can one of you guys go throw a rock on that mine or something and set it off so we don't accidentally kill some bum or something that's digging around someday?
Down the stairs, essentially, where the mine was.
Yeah.
So where you guys were in the corridor. As she was sort of standing in the corridor, she's sort of like staring to the left and right as the last person walks past the corridor, and you all sort of step away. Her eyes briefly glow, and you see all of the mines go, and then they immediately explode, collapsing the tunnel. These were facing charges, not unlike the other ones. Sorry, yeah, not very much unlike the other ones. So there is a brief shockwave, but there was not as many of them. So the hallway does collapse.
The one that led to her room.
The one that led to her room, which is now completely gone.
All right, so I'll take her into the big chamber there, and say, and don't be disturbed by the dead here. We had to break the locks on your cage. But can somebody take care of that mine, please?
All right, so I'm gonna put you in the big map again that you guys, the big sort of blueprint map, just for sort of rough reference. It's working incredibly slowly today. All right, so there you go, and it's
So you said he just sent me an address, right? He's not actually sending transportation for us?
because he doesn't know where you're coming out of. He tells you to sort of just book transportation, which wouldn't be very expensive to do anyway. You could get some transportation to anywhere in the city for 50 eddies max, and that would be the fastest service you could probably get. Would be towards 200 eddies. That would be a combat cab, very much like the Delamain Executive Services.
I'll ask him if he'll pay for a combat cab.
He said he sort of goes. There's a brief reply. ... Just like, yeah, fine, and he sends you an extra 200 to book a Delamain combat cab out of here.
I'll say thank you. You're a rock star.
Because he just sends it. That data drive better be intact. The moment you get to the safe house,
Don't worry about it.
plug it in immediately. Geist, you get
Yeah,
you get that
yeah,
message
yeah, we got
separately. Plug in the. You get that message to your agent separately. Plug in the data drive. But all right, you So, is anyone going to blow up the mine, as Ward suggested below, or are you guys?
I don't really care about the mine. I just ignored it and kept walking by.
Okay.
I'll throw a rock down.
All right, you get a piece of object down and just roll me a general athletics check. It's a pretty easy DV, just to not miss it completely.
Natural 1 as he falls down with it.
You know those guys that like throwing the bowling ball and then just follow it? Oh, okay. Well, that's the roll to get a natural 10 on.
Well, 29. Why not? I'll hit the trigger exactly. No other rock. It touches nothing. Like one of those balls that just goes through the net, barely
Perfect.
net moving.
Like a perfect basketball 3-pointer.
Who needs to hack? I can just become a professional basketball player.
And Archie.
Yes.
With simplicity and sheer elegance, that rock falls straight down. You probably estimate that you hit it right on top of the trigger. The pressure plate goes down, and then you immediately move away as the explosion kicks up a bunch of rock and dust as you sort of throw it and then sort of step to the side. But
all these mortal things are easy.
That is the most net runner line I've ever heard you say. All right, and the rest of you are moving towards the tunnel?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep calling the Delian cab until I get a signal as we're walking through this tunnel.
You do get a faint signal as you sort of approach this chamber. Better than what you had in the corridor. Just give me 2 seconds.
We're back. Hey, does anybody recognize that name?
Declan.
Thank you.
Ward remembers. It's fine.
Yeah, I keep thinking of Delamain. I hear Delamain, Declan. I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah, it's fair.
So would I roll library search or education to know if I've heard of that?
For you, it would be really tricky. I don't think you would have heard of him.
Okay.
Yeah, as a public or big figure, you do not know of any Declans.
Okay.
I'll say Woody, roll me an education check.
Okay.
And for you, the DV is slightly easier, so you don't have to roll super high. But
Oh, man.
Oh my god.
It doesn't tell me anything.
What about you, Gage? Do you know anything?
Guy called Declan? I don't think so. Should I roll an education check for that?
yeah, go ahead and roll me an education check. A -2, unfortunately, isn't enough to find out.
Gage knows.
Roll me that crit
I
roll.
know.
Gage
You're
is
right.
wicked.
Okay, so
I know.
Gage, as part of running away from Little China, one of the things that you made sure you did was make sure that you at least understood the generic scenery of the gangs of Night City. And so that you could stay away from their hair so that you don't step into the wrong nightclub or start pissing off the wrong person here and there. So with enough time, you at least got a basic understanding of some of the other areas as you were sort of scouting for locations. And the name Declan Griffin came up at one point as being the leader of the Maelstrom, who's not a very well-known leader compared to some of the other ones, but Declan Griffin is the leader of the Maelstrom gang, and it would be the only context, especially associating these cultists with potentially the Maelstrom, would make sense to have Declan come up in that context at least. However, he is not, unlike Padre from the Valentinos or Wakako from the Tiger Claws or any of the other Oyabuns from the Tiger Claws, who are a bit more public. Declan of the Maelstrom gang in general, just very much like the Voodoo gang, stay to their area and they don't really interfere with others, and so that his name is just not that well known unless you really look into it. But the moment that he mentions it, though, Ward, you also immediately sort of go, Declan Griffin of the Maelstrom. 1 + 1 is 2. It would make sense.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that Maelstrom is worshiping her because, I mean, her physical abilities seem off the charts, and she seems very high replacement, and that's part of their whole, thing.
Given also, without really needing to roll much of a passive deduction here, the messages that were on that terminal add up to what she's saying about the person caring about her, the way that he didn't care about how many casualties were sustained in that attack. When he thought that you guys were reporting in as Maelstromers, he was like, is she okay? We will get her out of there. he seemed to be very much fixated on her. So you
Okay.
would figure that it might have been Declan on the other side.
Do we get ambushed going to the tunnel? Do we get to the tunnel?
You get to the tunnel without an issue, and start sort of moving away on the kind of makeshift railings behind this generator. As you start pulling it, you do see a small cutout, sort of very makeshift tunnel that's been dug with some slight power tools, maybe here and there, but for the most part is maybe sort of, again, whoever dug this did not really know what they were doing. You can immediately tell there's no proper structure to it. There's no proper like support to it, but it's functional, potentially. But that's where we're going to take a break. So let's say 10 minutes, 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
So we'll reconvene at 10:02. Okay.
Cool.
Cool. So welcome back, and just to pick up where we last left off, as you guys were making your way through the what is now, so you have managed to get and convince Clarissa to leave with her belongings, as well as the data store, and having jerry-rigged it to sustain itself on the battery power of the laptop battery of Forge, you make your way through the chamber that you had not been in, that you've not only just recently just left, which is still covered with blood and gore and like bodies everywhere. The damage from the explosives against the walls, and some of the tiles are breaking off, and the railings have sort of been blown apart. But as you make your way carefully through and to the back of the power generator, where you had from your previous time in this room investigated and found that there was a makeshift escape tunnel that made its way and looped itself almost sort of what appears to be spirally up and round, sort of to sort of try and get itself somewhere. It for the most part does go straight, and then it spirals slightly, and then it spirals a little bit like kind of to the side, and then it keeps going. The elevation never being more than about, the slant rather, never being more than about 10 or 15 degrees. So it's not a very steep tunnel.
Are we able to stand in it, or do we have to crawl?
It's uncomfortable to stand in. You could sort of like crouch walk if you wanted to, but crawling would probably be easier. For someone a bit shorter, they could. For yourself, you'd probably have to crawl at some point, or really like squat walk if you wanted to. But
Well, I have concerns with these guys liking explosives so much, so I will be checking as we move up the tunnel for.
so this is a great question, and leads me to ask, what's the marching order? So I assume what is at the front?
Makes sense.
I assume Clarissa is behind me, unless she's anxious, darts ahead.
No, she would take sort of just right behind you, and where the rest of you.
Did
I'll
she have,
probably be somewhere in the middle.
did she have any comments on all the bodies and the way the room is?
Not a single word as she sort of looks through, just kind of absent-mindedly, thinking
My
more
kind
about
of-
the outside.
My kind of woman.
Yeah, I'll flank Clarissa with Ward. I guess that's fine like that.
Can I just say, can I not be last in case something happens? I'm on 15 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why don't you go? Why don't you go in front of me, right behind Ward?
And Forge, where do you want to go?
Because I have the most valuable item, clearly I have to be all the way at the back in case we were followed.
Chloe will sort of help take the rear with you. She will put you in front of her and Connor as you guys are moving through. So Chloe will make sure that everyone is sort of going inside and sort of watches from behind, keeping a watchful eye. You make your way into this tunnel, which again, it's makeshift as makeshift can be. It's probably taken them several months, maybe even a year to dig out, potentially. It's taken a while to dig out. But as you make your way through, slowly but surely, kind of uncomfortably at some points, and you have to sort of kneel down, and Forge, you're sort of keeping yourself down and kind of holding it in front of you as you're waddling ahead with it, like sort of just trying to keep it in front of you, Forge. And it is uncomfortable. It's a tight squeeze, but all of you are managing to sort of make your way through the tunnel. and soon it doesn't take too long before you start hearing what sounds like a whistle. It's not a human whistle, but more of the wind passing through something. And kind of going up ahead, this tunnel is completely dark. So
We got our night vision goggles still,
you
right?
have your night vision goggles, and Chloe has turned on a flashlight and is sort of providing kind of a dim light from the back to kind of illuminate the way, to just illuminate some parts forward. And they're just sort of snaking around and manage to make your way up. You do hear wards. Do roll me a perception check as you're making your way through.
Yeah, I was also going to say, do I hear anything with my enhanced sound coming out from the exit of the tunnel?
Roll me a perception check.
Well, it'll be whatever it is, +1, 2, I mean.
So, wards, you do not see any immediate explosives or any sort of traps, anything that is designed to stop someone through this tunnel. It seems to be a relatively straightforward, clear passing for you, other than the squeeze. You do eventually get to what appears to be the end of the tunnel. And Connor listening out the whole time, nothing outside that would sound suspicious, nothing, you can't even really hear the outside for most of the part. Eventually, as you guys come up against what seems to be the end of this tunnel, you do start hearing, because you rolled quite well, in the distance, some cars are driving not too far away. The sound of motor engines, potentially.
But yeah, I mean, we're close to a road, though, right?
It doesn't. Well, given you would assume that you're a few hundred feet away, and at this point,
I mean, it wouldn't be unusual.
No,
to your eyes.
no, it wouldn't be unusual. It would definitely not be the area where you entered from. It would be sort of tangentially closer, somewhere to maybe either side of that area where the roads were actually running, potentially. But bear in mind that this is a huge sort of, aqueduct sort of style of like empty river bank, not river bank, but like constructed bank that's just empty below. So you're definitely not exiting in the bank. That's what you figure from the noise.
Well, I'm just gonna send out see if I can give my position yet to the Damien cab and say 7 passengers need pickup.
You do send your contacts to the Delamain cab, and it does go through.
6.
That's fine. It does make its way through. You have 7 people total.
Yeah, 7. I was right the first time. Yeah.
That's right. Unless Woody's going to go take his car separately.
Well, what I was thinking is like it would be faster just to get in the car and drop Woody off, rather than just having him hoof it there.
Sure. So
Would it though?
I don't know. I guess it depends on where we are.
Yeah, it depends. I think let's see where we are and
Yeah.
make that decision.
But the option's there.
Yeah, just say 7 for now. That's fine.
All right. So
Okay.
6 or 7 won't matter too much because you'll get the same size cab given to you, which is a
Right.
larger double-seater sort of one where you have 4 people sitting on one side, 4 people sitting on the other side, and then the front is automated driving by Mr. Delamain Services. So, Wards, you do approach, and there seems to be what appears to be a wall-like ending to this tunnel.
Does it appear to go up, like into a manhole or something, or?
It's not a manhole; it goes straight through, and it's slightly raised at the end, but it's still sort of just ever so slightly angled, but still sort of straight. As in, like, you could just still walk straight through. But this thing that's covering it, as you sort of get closer to it, there's a faint howling noise from the wind draft coming through. This is not bolted on. You imagine that this is something that's sort of been leaned against the opening, potentially. Now, with your perception check, you do notice that that thing has whatever is leaning against it, has a motion sensor attached to one side, as you see this faint red laser touching one side to the other. Now, roll me an ES tech check. It's a relatively not super high DV, so feel free to just, with a quick glance, just roll an ES tech. You can't see an immediate explosive, but you don't. that's all you're pretty much able to tell. There isn't an immediate explosive around that laser. It's not connected to an explosive.
Okay, I mean, it seems like maybe they wouldn't put an explosive there, because if some curious guy just came in and it blew up, that would attract some attention. Whereas if they have a motion sensor there, they could send somebody out to investigate. And so I mention it to everybody. I say, hey, there seems to be a trap here. Not sure what it's connected to. Maybe that computer downstairs. Anybody else want to step up and investigate? Who's better at tech stuff?
No, I'll say that it's a very, very tight squeeze, and changing the order of the marching order here would be very difficult. Like maybe Gage or Woody could squeeze through, but everyone else would struggle to squeeze past people.
What about Clarissa? Does she know anything about this?
Clarissa is just sort of scared at this point, as she can tell that you guys have gotten close to the, like, to some opening, and she's just like, maybe I should turn back. Maybe I should turn back. Maybe I should turn back.
You can't turn back. You blew up your room. We're going forward, Clarissa.
She goes,
Like in life, we're going forward. Not looking.
yeah.
So I'll move up and I'll say, everybody stay back in case this blows up.
She grabs you from your shoulder and just turns. Can we get some tea and biscuits when we get out of here?
Can Woody is Woody close enough to maybe make it out? He's not great at this, but he's willing to give it a shot.
Sure. I mean, you can kind of squeeze yourself past both of them and have a look, if you like.
I'll put luck into it.
Okay.
Once it goes through here.
Sure. You might need to.
I'll send him.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll send a message to the Delian about getting tea and biscuits in the car if possible.
Delamain's executive services will charge you 50 eddies extra for any sort of, but that would have to leave the depot immediately, and because you've already ordered it, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
There's champagne that you can pay for optionally inside the car. But
I'll put 4 luck into it.
okay. Looking at it, sort of as you squeeze yourself past and get close to like where Ward is standing and having a look at it, you've actually seen this before. This is a relatively cheap motion sensor device that connects to an agent. You've seen this because in your in some nomad camps, this acts as an incredibly cheap security to put in front of someone's door when they're sleeping out in the wild or someone's tent potentially, and it can alert people quite quickly. It can be set to release a very loud noise, or it can be set to be silent, and just send a message to an agent essentially that it's been triggered.
Right.
It doesn't.
So it's
do
not
anything else.
explosives, but
Yeah.
it looks like some kind of trip wire here. I'm sure we could deactivate it, but
I'm not sure we have the time to be messing around. And I think
or you just want to run for it.
All right. So
Hey,
Ward,
Is it possible to step over it?
it's connected to the panel. So the laser is set up with the panel. The moment that panel is attached, that is covering the hole, it will go off, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you go ahead and...
I mean, unless somebody thinks they can disarm it in like a minute.
I would say probably only Forge could maybe try and come and try and switch it off, but it would take him a while to shimmy through. It would take him up to a minute to shimmy through. So
Let's just get out of here. So yeah, I'll step out.
okay, you push the panel and it's not exactly bolted. It's just heavy. It feels heavy, not as heavy as the last one. It's not being propped up by anything, and a bit of a push. You tell her it was heavy enough for the wind not to blow it over, at least. So you do push it, and you are in what appears to be a small shed. Like, the roof is maybe just slightly above your head now, so you can actually finally sort of stand up, and there is just another door in front of you. And you notice this is a makeshift shed by the looks of it. And as you open that door, the door in front of you, you sort of enter into what appears to be a smaller warehouse, potentially. The walls here are much larger. This seems to be an abandoned warehouse, and this is, as you sort of step away from it, a bunch of corrugated metal boards just put in one corner, and from the outside actually doesn't look that suspicious. And the door that was in the door in front of it was also just another panel that you just sort of pushed away. So seems to just be occupying a corner of this larger warehouse.
Okay. So I'll stand by the thing as we one by one come out. I'll make sure everybody gets out.
Clarissa sort of steps her head out, and just as she gets into the shed, she's hesitant to take the next step. and sort of just looks around and just kind of retreats back a little bit.
Clarissa, dear, would it be okay, those very important items that you have on you? I would hate to see those get damaged or lost. Would it be okay if somebody were to like maybe take pictures of the pages to save that? Because I think that's important stuff, and we don't want anything bad to happen to it. Maybe make a copy of the shard.
Stepping through, she sort of looks around and goes, The shard is Declan's. You can keep that. I hate it anyway. He just tells me that I need to. Watch it.
Thank you. But the diary, I would hate to see that lost. That is such a piece of history and so important. And it could get burned, it could be wet, and we could just take some pictures of it to make sure that the pages are never lost. Just pictures.
She sort of looks at you, goes, maybe.
It's okay. Too much.
Maybe. But she's still holding on to it.
Okay. So once we're all out, you said we heard cars. Is that because people were driving up on us or because we're near a road?
You hear that the cars are just passing by. This is not too far from a road. You kind of all hear them. This warehouse is probably not located too far from a road.
So once everybody's out, I'll set the corrugated thing back up and maybe like knock it over like something fell and pushed it over so they won't necessarily. They know. All the guys. It doesn't matter.
I'll check the device if I can quickly check what number it's sending the alert to. Like, what's the setup for it?
As you walk past the device, just a brief ES tech check from you, and let's have a look. Go for it.
And whenever that's coming through, hello.
Hopefully it's just going to one of those dead guys.
I have a feeling it's going to Declan, but who knows?
Well, if it is, he's expecting
and it's another +1 from field expertise.
You do manage to figure this device out, even though you haven't seen it anytime. Sort of, maybe you've come across it, but the setup for it is really simple. It connects to an agent wirelessly, like you sort of connect it with an agent, and then it has a very simple sending service that will just send a message up like an agent would up to a satellite, and that would send it to the agent. You do manage to pull the agent number out of it with relative ease, but it's just a number. It hasn't got other details listed to it. But
and as we're leaving too, I'm sending a message to Casper saying that at these coordinates, whoever's behind holding that girl will be there in approximately 20 minutes, most likely. Just use the information if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, and what do you? Is there like a window or a door or anything in the warehouse what he could look out of that try to orient himself to see where he is in relation to where they may have entered?
Yeah, the only thing you notice is that there are windows maybe 40 feet up in this warehouse. It's not the biggest warehouse, it's only maybe 100 feet across, but there are 2 large doors that are chained with a padlock from the inside. But there's no windows you are immediately sort of accessible to.
And just the 2 large doors, no like normal size side door or anything?
No, just the 2 large doors.
Can anybody with their agent just GPS us and pinpoint us exactly?
You could use your agent and have a look for anyone who has it, and it pings you right maybe 300 about 300 meters away from where you entered, to sort of the southwest.
Does it look like we can break the padlock and get out of here?
I mean, yeah, you look at it, it's breakable for sure. Yeah.
Take a piece of rebar or concrete and just smash it.
Easy enough.
You do have a linear frame,
Grabs it.
He just breathes on it hard enough and it falls off.
Yeah, with just a couple of tugs, and if you use a rebar or anything, it's easy enough to snap off the. This was made to sort of keep prying people out, but it wasn't made to be high security. The doors do open, and in a distance, you do sort of walk out onto some almost like wasteland style gravel, and as you sort of step around, you do see this is on the other side of the aqueduct, where there are a couple of factories that were sort of abandoned factories and warehouses that are dotted around this area, and across the aqueduct there is one of the roads that goes through sort of the south side of Rancho Coronado. And let's jump back to the city map.
What's the status on the cab?
As you've sent your location, there is an ETA on it. The payment has gone through for 200 eddies, and you get the full package with this. You immediately get a little timer on it. It's 2.5 minutes before it arrives.
I relay that information to you guys.
By the way, I tell Lucille to have a look through the data I've collected during the mission and the data that I've gotten out of the...
Okay, cool. Roll me that live research for Lucille.
Connor, I think I might need to take the combat cab to my car. I don't want to risk against a minefield or something, trying to run 300 meters.
I mean, that shouldn't be a problem. As long as they seem to take the message I sent earlier on the computer, and they know we just left and that we'd have to travel 20 minutes. So I don't think anyone is expecting us in this area. So we got about 20 minutes, so we got plenty of time to drop you off before they come looking for her.
Okay.
Stepping outside for the first time, you see Clarissa's eyes just kind of fill with wonder and amazement and excitement, but also some part of her is petrified, and she goes through emotions like a child go through emotions incredibly rapidly, with rapid pace and also fascination. But just sort of looking around, she just kind of... she's confused and she's a bit scared, so she tucks the coat a bit tighter, but also just looks towards where you're standing from. You can see the entire skyline of the city from here, and it is beautiful. And she is just taken aback by the whole thing, trying to take it in, as it's way out in the distance past the sort of houses and streets of Rancho Coronado.
Hey, this is Dick's legacy.
I bet you never could imagine a night sky being so as beautiful as this. It's quite a sight.
This is what he wanted to build. This was his vision. And then immediately as she says that, you hear a gunshot go off in the distance.
I mean, it's not that unusual, I guess, for this part of town.
Nope.
It's so usual that we didn't notice at first.
All of you just...
until somebody reacted.
2 minutes do pass, and from a distance you can hear a car approaching, and it's the wheels going into the gravel, making quite the audible noise. From a distance you do see off the path that it had to take, probably from down here, as it's sort of almost driving out of Night City. You have to make a detour to get to this side of the aqueducts, and Woody, in this time, in these 2 minutes, you would have also noticed, as you sort of look over the aqueduct, your car, as well as the rented car that you two had, which, by the way, I will say you will have a penalty if you don't return it, because Chloe, you and Chloe had a rented car for the day, which...
Oh, that's right.
Yes. So both cars still parked in front of the aqueduct doors, in front of the entrance of the sewers, at about 300 meters or so. You'd have to go down the steep side of the aqueducts, which there are some stairs that lead on the other side of them. The nearest one is about 400, 500 meters that way. There, as you have a look around, there isn't any immediate other cars around the entrance that you can see.
I'm gonna look at Ward. I'm like, I think I'll send my personal assistant with you. She needs to return that car as well, and then you guys can link up with us at the safe house that they gave us.
You say this to Woody.
Me and
Yeah, and if you don't mind, Chloe, I think that's probably the best option.
so me and Chloe. Okay.
I'll let you. She goes, I think that would be best, and she kind of puts away her gun, which she had drawn sort of exiting the warehouse, just making sure that it was clear. She puts her gun away and goes, "You ready? Let's go for a brisk jog." And she starts jogging, running around, trying to be as quick as possible, because even though you said it was 20 minutes, you spent a good 15 minutes with Clarissa in there, and then another 5 minutes getting out of this tunnel. because it was a tight squeeze. So it is approaching that 20-minute mark.
Well, what I was thinking is if they know when we're leaving because of that motion detector, maybe they would say, okay, 20 minutes to walk to this location from that point. But
Not based on your messages. You would not figure that
Okay.
that would be the message. But you did tell them not to meet immediately outside the Night City sewers, at least. So,
Okay.
so she starts jogging, and she is out.
I let her go ahead.
She's going
and then
ahead.
I follow behind her. Yeah,
Alright.
I let her go about, I would say about 15, 20 feet or so.
Okay, cool. Roll me an endurance check, just to see as to how much out of breath you are by the end of this. Yeah, this is difficult, especially as you get to the stairs and she starts making her way down the stairs. Sort of looks back at you and like you're trying to catch up with her, but it's difficult. But you're doing the best you can. And you do eventually get to the cars, and as you do get to the cars, at this point you do just having a casual look around. Nothing is yet approaching, so you quickly kind of get into your car. She quickly gets into the rental and start driving up the up where you sort of originally came from, the part of the aqueduct that does actually lead up to the main street, which would be, I'll just ping it for you on the map. It would be up here. So as you do drive up,
Okay.
just slightly up here. But as you guys do see the Delamain cab approaching, and as it approaches and pulls up, you see the sort of black, very executive-looking sort of car. It's longer than the usual Delamain cabs you see driving around in the city, although some of you might have seen this one already. And the two doors in the back open up either side like that, and allow for 4 people to sit on either side of the interior.
Get in, boys. Help yourself to some champagne if you want as well. Good work.
Well, I kind of geared up with the cab and ask if anyone wants to ride with me. If not, it's fine.
I will say that the cab will be driving the opposite way to where you are going, because you'd have to drive up for a while before the cab leaves. It will have left because it's at the top of the aqueduct. You're at the bottom of the aqueduct, trying to get up to a driveway to essentially get out of the city, get out of the area. I assume you've given the cab the safe house location.
Yeah, of course. But as we're also getting in the cab, just to be extra safe, I'm using my bug detector to just aim it at all the stuff we're bringing from Clarissa, like the chip, the hard drive, just to make sure we're not being tracked with any of this equipment.
Okay. It doesn't immediately seem like it's bugged. Nothing comes up.
So it's not pinging, because I think it's with anything within a certain meters, it just pings if it detects it.
Nothing seems to be pinging.
Oh yeah, in that case, I just get in and I pop a bottle of champagne and I give them the coordinates, and I say hit it.
As you press on the champagne button, a platform does raise from the side of it, and it goes 25 extra eddies. Pay, which you accept and grab the bottle of champagne, which immediately, as it presents itself, comes with a rotating set of cups, and all of you see as the cab starts turning around, and you hear this automated voice. This is from almost all of you that I would assume the first time you've been in a Delamain cab, and the Delamain cab goes, "Welcome, Connor. Thank you so much for typing in the coordinates. We will be arriving at our destination in 24 minutes. Have a pleasant drive." And the cab immediately turns around and, well, that's Connor's, sorry, that's Woody's car, but
Sorry.
no, the cab immediately turns around and drives the way that it came from, and it's a very, very incredibly smooth ride.
Outstanding. And I pour a cup for everyone in the car that's with us.
Okay.
And pass them the glass.
Would he miss the champagne celebration?
No tea, just champagne.
Doesn't seem to be any tea in the car. It seems to only come with champagne.
Delamain, do you have any non-alcoholic drinks?
I'm sorry, but you have to request non-alcoholic drinks in advance.
Of course. Sorry.
That's okay, Connor. Carries on driving.
But you have some water, right? For the lady here?
Delamain goes, "I'm sorry, but you have to request non-alcoholic drinks at the start."
Okay, never mind.
You get the sense as a corpo, the markup on water isn't that great as it is to champagne. So don't even make it an option. Immediately start, as the cab starts driving away. Woody, roll me a perception check. Okay. You carry on driving. Carry on driving relatively calmly, and it's not until you sort of notice that there is a car which is coming which is revving up its engine and coming a lot closer to you as you start driving down the roads of Rancho Coronado. You immediately notice that it is heavy Maelstrom iconography on the front of it.
Okay.
I need you to roll me a drive land vehicle check. Add your roll ability to it as well, as it immediately begins to take pursuit of you and is trying to kind of gain on you.
The 4 is already added. 27.
The 4 is already added. Fantastic. Okay, so as you start, you immediately notice this. You kind of go, you try to keep it, play it cool, but the moment you realize that it's tailing you, you start hammering it away from it because it's trying to gain on you and it's trying to knock you out of the way. The car comes to do the first swerve on you, and you manage to evade as the car sort of swerves around, and you kind of looking in the back mirror. 2 Maelstromers are in that car, by the looks of it.
Okay.
As the car continues to drive up against you, and you are gaining. You have managed to avoid it, and so are gaining slightly away from it. But the car sort of quickly catches up to you again. I need you to roll me another sort of drive land vehicle check just to see if you're going to outpace it. And then feel free to tell me what maneuvers you'd like to perform as you're driving away.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Sure thing.
Yeah, no maneuvers. If they're just pursuing me, can I just activate my NOS?
You can. That gives you your entire move for the car again, right? Okay.
Extra move action when driving.
Okay, cool. So you're moving 40 instead of 20. Okay. So what made that land vehicle check? Land vehicle check.
19. Where were you with the crit?
Yeah, you're gonna have to roll with the crit.
Oh, let me do that.
Okay, so it does gain on you, and it does manage to sort of gain enough to get into another position to hit you. So you're gonna have to try and roll evasion on your car for it, which would just be another drive land vehicle check against theirs contested, unless there's a ruling that I completely forgot again with car chases, because I'm not very good at running car chases in Night City. Let me double check that for you. I think it is a drive land vehicle check, unless it's an explicit maneuver that you're trying to ram them.
Are they like right behind me?
They have managed to catch up to you. You haven't activated the NOS just yet. This is just before you activate it, because they're sort of swerving. They're right behind you at this point. So, landing.
Okay.
It is a straight. Yeah, it's a straight contest against. Yeah, it's a DV. It's a DV 13 for a physical object. For a car, it would just be a contested land vehicle check, as far as I can see here. So.
Okay.
You do manage to avoid it just in time, and this time you do manage to put your NOS on, and with your NOS, they have no chance. You immediately gain incredibly quickly. Now I do need you to roll me another land vehicle check to keep control of the car as you're flying at a ridiculous speed, and there is traffic ahead of you as you're sort of now driving down the streets, going like down the streets of Rancho Coronado at a neck-breaking pace.
I'm gonna put my last point of luck into this.
Okay. Very well.
28.
You do manage to keep control of the car with expert precision, like the Night City racer that you are, keeping and swerving left, right, and center away from. Again, even though this is more traffic than you initially expected and anticipated around this time of day, and it's getting quite late now at this point as well. But you manage to sort of clear away from most of them and get into like the emptier side of the streets, and do manage to eventually outmaneuver them as you get on top of. And where are you heading to, just in terms of general direction? Are you heading to the safe house coordinates as well?
Yeah, just in the direction of the safe house.
Cool. So I can tell you that the safe house itself, the coordinates for it, appear to be in what appear to be sort of a kind of rather remote area of Wellsprings. What you'd think is a rather remote area of Wellsprings that you haven't really heard of too much, but sort of southwest Wellsprings.
Yeah, the whatever this like main road down the center of Santo Domingo is.
Okay.
I'm going like that way towards Coast View, I guess. Not really straight to Wellsprings through Haywood or anything.
Okay. You have a look around, and it does seem like they're not managing to keep up with you anymore, and sooner rather than just within a few minutes, you have managed to outpace them and lose the tail by the looks of it, to where you sort of slow down to a much more normal pace and find that.
Was I able to like see what kind of vehicle it was and this type of thing?
Yeah, it's a relatively average Maelstrom banger. Like it's one of those converted like gangbanger cars that you'd see driving around the NID quite frequently.
Definitely saw Maelstrom people inside.
100% saw Maelstrom people, and 100% there was huge, typical like the white skull with the red eyes iconography of the Maelstrom on the hood of it, which is incredibly typical for them. You would not figure that was a random encounter, because the Maelstrom does not make their way down to Rancho Coronado often. The rest of you, right, so you do manage to outpace them. The rest of you, in a very casual cab ride, in one of the most luxurious land driving experiences any of you have felt in quite a while, are sort of coasting away towards Wellsprings, and Clarissa's just standing in the back, sort of sitting in the back, and she does like see you grab the champagne, and then looks at you kind of like wanting one as well.
I'll pour a tiny bit. I'm like, just be careful, Clarissa. This stuff, if you drink too much, it can make you sick. And if you're not used to it, it can't be good to you. But it's okay to have a little sip, and it's actually good for your heart. So have a little bit.
She sort of takes it and like starts drinking it. And
Slowly, though.
as she tips it back, she just goes, just smiles a little bit, because reminds me of the bars we used to go to.
What was your favorite bar?
The Atlantis.
I know the Atlantis.
She looks at you, and she hands you over the journal. And she goes, "What's
To
said?"
me?
She gives it to you, and she goes, "What's said? You can look, take pictures, but I want it back."
Is this anything like the book I got with the weird cult? Is it similar in any way?
No, this is a journal handwritten by
So it's
someone.
different material? Okay.
Different material.
Thank-
It's old, very old. It is that cultist book that you found is not exactly old. It's tattered, but it's not exactly old. That's just bad wear to it. This thing is worn beyond belief. It is an
And it's real
80-year-old.
paper.
This is real paper, and it's 80-year-old, at least 80 years old, maybe more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll thank you, Clarissa. I mean, I promise I'll take very good care of it, and it shouldn't take long. I mean, how long would it if I activate my video camera and carefully
Just to
like,
scan
go
through it. Okay.
Yeah, it's so I can record every page clearly.
Carefully moving the pages so that you don't tear them or anything. It would only take you 3 minutes or so. Tops.
So I can do that in the cab ride and give it right back to her.
Yeah, absolutely. You do turn the video cam on and start flipping through. And you notice that on the front it says Knight's Journal, and you see from some of the dates, this predates, this is from the year of 1994, is when some of these records begin in here. Maybe, 1994 is the earliest record that you find in here. You do notice that some of the text is worn. You do notice that some of the text is damaged, and you do notice that some of the pages are illegible anymore. It's just sort of the wear of time, and maybe the amount of times that someone has read through them has sort of caused a lot of damage to them over the years. This has also not been kept in a good condition, in sort of a good location as such. You do flick through, though. Roll me a library search as you're just kind of flicking through with your video camera. Are you actually actively trying to read it, or are you just trying to video it?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll skim it a bit, but I'm more just trying to record it and give
Okay.
it back to her because I know I can take the time to read it more carefully later.
Okay.
And I'd rather not hold it too long.
I will say that because it's handwriting and it's quite old as well, I would say you just scan it. You can't really read or make out anything as you're just skimming it. You can kind of make out some of the dates, which are kind of written a bit more clearly.
Mm-hmm.
As you're skimming, you sort of see 90, 94, 94, 94, 94, 97, 98 bookends.
Well, one thing I will with my eyes look out for as like a keyword is I'll see if there's any mentions of like my parents' names, Biotechnica, or the project they were working on back in the day, just like those keywords. That's like the thing I'm focusing on as I'm scanning it. And if I do see it, I'll make it like an internal note marking that picture to look at first, possibly. But that's about it.
Do roll me a library search on that then, and
Library searched. B plus that plus 2. Did it not go through?
don't think so.
Which go get in? There we go. It's 17, 18, 19. Huh?
It's difficult to make out for sure because of its handwriting, and it's like it's incredibly cursive as well, so it's not the easiest handwriting to read. But as you're scanning through it, you don't find the time to particularly look very closely for your parents' name. But even just keeping an eye out, you don't see anything. You do make out that this is the journal of Richard Knight, and this is in his sort of founding years of Night City. He sort of talks, just some of the bigger words that are highlighted in your mind as you sort of quickly read through it are things such as city construction, the bay, expansion, things like that are some of the words that capture your attention. You do notice that there is a large gap for 3 years, 2 years on between 90. So there's a couple of entries for 94, then 95, and then there's a 2 year gap. Then again another entry for 3 year gap, and then an entry for 98, and then another entry for 98. The last entry is on the 19th of September, 1998, on that book, in that journal, and then it ends with the rest of the pages being empty.
Okay. Well, for now, because I want to take careful time to look at this book and the other one I picked up from the cultists, but I guess now is not the best time to really study it. So I'm just gonna be recording it for now and then give it back to her so that she doesn't get too concerned about it getting damaged.
She's watching you the whole time, really carefully, and you notice it, and so you take extra care with it, making sure that you're diligent in it. And as you sort of finish, you give it back to her respectfully, and she kind of grabs it and hugs it again.
Is there ice in the champagne bucket?
There is ice, yeah.
So I'll take a napkin and dip it in the water and maybe start cleaning her off a little bit, get some of the grime and dirt off of her.
As you sort of just get the napkin's a little bit wet, and just sort of like start, like as you approach her, she's immediately like sort of looks and is kind of scared, and then
we got to clean you up if you're coming out into the light.
She sort of grabs the napkin, and she starts like wiping her neck with it, and she just goes, I would appreciate a shower somewhere.
Hopefully where we're going, that'll be possible. I look at Connor, kind of like, is it?
Both of you are shrugging at this.
I don't know what's in the safe house, and I'm not taking her to my house, but I'm sure there'll be some way to clean you up at this safe house. The guy we're working with, I don't think he's going to send us to a shithole, hopefully. He seems to have some money, but hopefully there should be some basic hygienic utilities there, I would think.
With easy enough sort of time. Yeah.
Oh, go on.
No, click go ahead, because you're still in the journey. You still have like a few more minutes, so I was going to ask if there's anything else someone wants to do.
So I was just curious, is she like Rogue 80s hot? Because like Rogue is like 80 in a video game, or is she like, like she 80 years old and like old woman?
The thing that you notice about her is that her the cyber enhancements are not to fix her age, but they do seem to be keeping her alive way past her prime for starters. You can't quite tell how old she is. That's the problem. And when we're talking about, is she like Rogue 80s hot? No, because Rogue would actively have had cybernetics that enhance her to that degree, or like Hanako, who is approaching her 80th year and still looks like she's 40, right, or 30 even. Like she's nothing like that at all. The cybernetics are purely combat-based internal cybernetics, and so she would look a lot older. but you do notice that her face doesn't age that, like hasn't aged that much. The marks are more around sort of her neck where the wrinkling is much more obvious. Her face is much cleaner stretched, and it's probably because she has a lot of cybernetics in her face.
And if she looks this old, and we know he's old, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I was kind of RPing it as if mentally she kind of seems to be a bit childlike. Is that kind of like how she's acting when she talks? She kind of has that kind of like childlike curiosity, childlike kind of reactions.
There is some level of trauma potentially or something, but she acts as if she is like. It's weird because some things that she says are not recessed to a mental age of like a young mental age. Some things that she does say sound slightly older, but some parts of her have like pulled themselves back into more of a childlike security.
Yeah.
And
what
so
Connor was thinking, I guess, is one of his siblings was on the autistic scale, like growing up with like sensitive to like overstimulation, sensory overload, and some kind of social issues. So I was kind of like wondering if she had those kind of vibes that I might recognize.
she would definitely have some things towards that. You gather that they've been caused by some sort of. It's hard to tell, but they potentially were caused by some sort of traumatic stimuli at some point that has caused her to kind of recess away from something, like move away from something, and within her mind, and kind of go back to the confines of her like this childlike safety. You don't know what is going on with her, like because she acts incredibly not in a slightly schizophrenic manner rather than a bipolar manner. Her mood swings are less subtle than her actual personality swings, which happen way more often.
Okay.
If that makes
This
sense.
Common for somebody who's got this much cyberware, though, and then suffered some trauma. I mean, this is what pushes people over the edge in this psychosis, right?
If you being a relative, like, self-renowned expert when it comes to the amount of cyberware in someone's body, would see the amount of cyberware that she has and just take a guess at the years that she has had them in for, because it gets worse with the years. She should not be alive by any stretch of the imagination, would be your first instinct. She should also be completely on the cyber psycho scale, like just the moment that she sees someone she would kill them is what you'd expect. But she's been relatively docile given your approach to her. So other than choking
And
Gage
I guess-
out.
I guess one of the other things I do in the car is just checking on Chloe too, to make sure she's okay.
Chloe
Can I
has yep.
And Woody.
text? Sorry, can I text Connor and then like ask where they are? Because I might try to like do a loop around and see if I could, protect them from behind or something in case, and escort their way to the safe house. Sorry.
Yeah. So go ahead, Connor.
I was just saying, yeah. I was just, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I was going to be asking, and I could easily give him the location. But I was just making sure him and Chloe are okay, and they're heading they're doing the thing.
So Chloe sends you an update from her agent, and she says that everything's gone smoothly. She's on her way to return the car to the depot, which shouldn't take very long, and then she'll meet up with you at the safe house.
Actually, should I meet up with Chloe and give her a ride to the safe house? If
I was just about to ask Woody that as well. I'll send a message if she could follow Chloe and keep an eye on her.
Okay. So it's easy enough to sort of, Chloe's more than happy to share her location with you, Woody, and you realize that she is driving to an area just above Vista del Rey, where she is dropping off the car. So it would not be a very major detour for you, at least. You sort of have to drive into Vista del Rey and then out into Wellsprings again. But she gives you her location, so you're more than welcome to meet up with her.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And as you make your way up into the location of Vista del Rey, you do see her sort of leaving. Again, moving through the streets of Arroyo and Vista del Rey, you get the sense that with Arroyo there is a huge amount of sort of degradation that has gone on in the last few years, but also a massive amount of rebuilding. Some areas have had factories here closed down, but actually be purchased for once rather than just be left to be derelict compared to what the NID looks like right now. And there's a lot of Kendachi, Zeta Tech Petrochem and Arasaka Militech factories here. Not so much Arasaka, you do only see a couple of them, but Militech for sure has a huge presence here, a couple of Biotechnica, and all of them are very proud to display their logos on even just the construction sites of some of these areas that are being rebuilt. And then driving through Vista del Rey, you start seeing the gang signs of the Valentinos as you make your way through into kind of more the northern side, and you do get to what appears to be a relatively not too bad looking, because it's sort of on the corner of Vista del Rey and almost approaching the Copo Plaza, so it's not very far from that area, and it's starting to look fancier. You do see just a what appears to be a car rental space with a sort of a parking lot outside, as Chloe has just sort of finished talking to some attendant behind a window and has parked the car and is sort of coming out, and she's sort of still grabbing her shoulder, and it's sore, and as she sees you, she sort of lets go of her shoulder as you sort of approach, and she gets into your car and goes, "Any trouble on the way?"
Yeah, I got followed by some maelstrom, but I was able to burn them out. So
She immediately like sort of looks around, like trying to check as you're saying this.
I took a big loop around Santo Domingo to get here. Pretty sure I lost them.
She starts nodding. I'll take your word for it, but still, we should be careful. Maybe,
If we come
Drive us-
across them, we could lose them again.
yeah, drive us around Corpo Plaza. Come to Wellsprings from the northern side. Maybe that'll be better.
I think that's a good idea.
So you start heading down and kind of around the immediate vicinity of the central roundabout that is Copo Plaza. You take that for a brief period and take into sort of, and immediately as you enter, you see them skyrocketing sort of Kangtao, Militech, Petrochem, Arasaka offices that are just shooting up into the sky, and the beautiful space that is the Corpo Plaza that has been made into a memorial for the events of the Fourth Corporate War. In the center of it, there's a memorial garden. The roundabout itself is the biggest in Night City, and as you take it for a brief period of time, you do exit out and then continue to go around. It'll only add about 10-15 minutes to your drive from here, but you do manage to sort of make your way around it and through the downtown into sort of the hipper area of Wellsprings, and then another sort of 15 minutes to drive through Wellsprings itself, which is actually larger than it actually appears on the map to begin with. So is the Glen. Most of Haywood is actually perceptively small on the map in terms of scale. It's actually slightly bigger than what you would see it as here on the map. But so it takes you about 20 minutes to drive through Wellsprings, the hipper areas sort of towards the northern side of it, making your way down towards the warehouse, to the safe house. And the party at this point has arrived, the rest of the party has arrived in the Delamain cab. Outside what appears to be in the sort of south side of Wellsprings, close to the docks and the beach itself of Night City, the bay, and looking up, there seems to be what appears to be a hotel that matches to the coordinates. The hotel itself is called Springy Wells.
I mean, does this look like a 5-star hotel, or is it just kind of like a tiny little?
Springy Wells is as close as you could get to a motel within this area, really. It's not fancy. It's definitely not fancy. It's more like to lay low and keep your head low within the city. It's not as off the beaten road as some of the places in the Badlands are. There is the Notel Motel, which is much quieter in those areas, but as far as seedy hotels go in Wellsprings, this is as seedy as it gets.
So we'll have like a clean bed and a shower, but you're not going to get any nice room service or have amenities.
Yeah,
basically.
you'll get the basics for sure. Yeah, but you're not going to get any added services here. The Springy Wells it's something.
I mean, is it safe to park your cars here? Is there privacy? I mean, like, do we have to worry?
The cars do have the hotel does have a parking section which costs 10 eddies to leave your car there. As you guys are putting up with the Delamain cab, you all exit the Delamain cab, and the Delamain, just before you exit, you have arrived at your destination, Connor. Thank you again for choosing the Delamain Executive Service. We hope you have a pleasant day. And the car drives off. as you
Say thank you, and I kind of look towards the building, look back at Chloe because I know she's probably a bit tense coming out of combat mode. So I'm just trying to relax her, and I'll be like, "Oh," and I always use these kind of like cheesy lines to kind of like calm her back down to like back to normal mode and bring her down. I'll just be like, "Oh,
so Chloe,
you were amazing. Was your dad a terrorist? Because you were a bomb tonight."
I will say that you will tell her this when she arrives, which will be 20 minutes later than you guys. So
Oh, I thought you said real estate. Okay,
No, no,
my
no,
bad. But
it'll be 20 minutes.
I'll send it in a text or
Okay.
say when she arrives.
Woody, you just sort of like notice Chloe look down at her agent and just goes, puts her agent away. And as you guys make your way into the hotel, you do get a message from Ghost who tells you 46. And as you enter this hotel, you do notice it's at least 7-8 floors potentially. It looks like out of game what a CD like Florida sort of Florida hotel out of its prime looks like. The ones that were set up like ages ago and have not really been like tended to or re-renovated, so the furniture is still a little bit old and outdated and tacky, but there's the typical like palm trees in the lobby, and it's got that bit of a look to it, but everything's a bit run down, a little bit discolored. And as you make your way inside, there is no physical concierge, but instead what appears to be a automated service check-in that is just a large display that as you approach it goes, "Hello," and the text appears. It's just like, "Would you like to check in?" And then it's a pretty self-guided service from there on out.
I mean, we get instructions and if we're checking in under a certain party name, or did he just give us a safe house and our real name?
He just gave you the number 46.
I'll just say room 46.
She goes, "Your booking has been approved, and your room is ready." And you see a small card is ejected out of the bottom of the screen, which you assume is like a hotel key card, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, is there any information about how many beds or how big this room is? Because yeah. Well, guys, it might be a bit cramped. I have no idea what we're walking into, but let's make our way.
Okay, take the elevators. Go on. What?
I'd get my gun ready.
Okay.
Flip off the safety. I don't know what we're getting into either, but we'll find out when we open that door.
And I'll look at you, Ward. I'm like, when we get up there, I'll stand next to the door and lock it. You want to clear the room before the rest of us come in?
Absolutely.
You go over to the elevators, and as you await the elevators to sort of arrive down, it's kind of 8-9 o'clock. It's at this point, but the elevators arrive, ding, and out of the elevators are what appears to be, Connor, you immediately recognize this, a rather young girl putting her hands around the neck of an exec who's maybe in his 40s. And Connor, you immediately recognize this exec.
Oh, is it the guy I think it is?
Well, no, this is Larry from the PR department of Biotechnica, who is
So the one that we have like this inner office rivalry, that guy, or the one that micromanages?
Neither of those. This is a colleague who you are on maybe like high at the water cooler levels with more than anything else.
I'm just gonna step out of view. Try to step away.
The thing is, as the elevators open, he notices you, and you immediately notice him.
Oh.
And there is a very awkward moment of like he's sort of like smiling and laughing with this young girl, and he immediately sort of like looks at you and just goes, "Connor."
Larry, don't worry, I won't say anything. We never saw each other.
Yeah, good shout. And he walks straight past you and sort of like hurries along out of the lobby and just sort of like you guys notice that he does a little bit of a take back to notice like this traveling party that he's with, but then immediately just ushers out, like hurries out, mighty confused. And you guys take the elevator up to the 4th floor and go to room number 46 and enter, use the key card, gun ready, open the door. The room appears to be rather small. It appears to maybe house, as you sort of head inside carefully, there are 2 beds total. There is a shower, a bathroom, and a small closet, and then not much else other than a vending machine that is propped up to the right hand side that offers some of the more basic stuff.
As Ward's clearing it too, I'll be walking behind him with my bug detector, just doing a thorough lap around the whole area,
Sure.
just to make sure there's no bugs.
I'll say just it'll take you sort of 2 minutes to go through, like maybe 2-3 minutes to go through really thoroughly and have a check, but you can do that. What are the rest of you doing?
Am I still with Chloe in the car?
Yeah, you would arrive about 15 minutes later from this point.
So I asked Chloe if there are any surprises at the spot yet that we know of.
You mean at the safe house?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Has Connor said anything?
Let me check in with him. And so she sort of checks in with you at the point where you finish sweeping the room, and there are no bugs that you can tell.
Okay. Seems clear. There's I think we'll have plenty of privacy in this room. Checked it pretty thoroughly. Ward, maybe you can help Clarissa and bring her to the shower. Show her
Yeah.
how to turn on the water and make sure it's not too hot.
Absolutely, and maybe you can grab some stuff, some food and stuff from the vending thing, or maybe some clothes for her. Something clean when she gets out.
Yeah, I'll get on that.
All right. You head over to the vending
Woody
machine. Go on.
Woody and Chloe continue.
Chloe
I'll send a
relays
message
the
to-
information to you.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say, send a message to Woody and Chloe, ask them if they could pick up, just some basic shirt and pants for our guest on their way up.
Okay.
If they pass anywhere.
Chloe relays the information to you. Woody,
You got money?
she looks at you.
I'll send him like
yeah.
She
I'll
goes,
send him like
yeah.
what 20 eddies. I don't know.
it's for some real basic bohemian, or like, yeah, it would.
Just like standard, like nothing. Like
You
a-
could get
a
some
shirt.
bargain bucket level stuff for about 20 eddies. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like some flannel like fleece pants for like sleeping, like pajamas, just that are a bit more comfortable.
so
and then
maybe-
we could take
Yeah. Sure.
2 sets. Yeah.
Yeah. She'll should be able to find 2 sets and cobble them together for about 40-50 eddies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll say that you guys take a little diversion, 5 minutes to go find a place that does this, but it's easy enough to do. And you do find a very kind of, because you're on the beach side here, this is like, you do find a lot of like beach bum style clothing, and a lot of shops that sell like beach bum style clothing. So you do get a like super touristy looking thing with like the palm thingy on it. It's just like,
Yeah.
I love Night City as one of the t-shirts for like 10 eddies and stuff like that. You do cobble, but she does cobble together like 2 sets of like comfortable clothing, at least more better than the aged nightgown that she was wearing. Ward, you show her how to operate the shower, and even though she seems very confused about the more modern ways of doing things, she sort of nods and goes, and then the whole time she was wearing her battle glove. And she sort of starts to makes sure that you exit the bathroom, and you see her sort of put next to the shower, she puts the battle glove down and then closes the door.
And I've never been a fan of letting people figure out the seashells on their own, so I explain how to use those.
Amazing. So,
And then I'll field strip my gun on the 2 beds, and clean it up because we did get some use out of it. So just waiting for her to finish her shower. Connor, you're in the room, or did you leave?
What was that again?
Did you stay in the room? Or are you in the room?
Well, I was gonna stay in the room because what I wanted to do for the food is actually ask Gage to pick it up, but I wanted to ask Xeppy first because my lifestyle is fresh food, but which I know is like just for one person myself. That's within my living. But if I want to go whatever one below that is, so it's like nicer kibble, not the cheap
like
shit.
fresh pack. Isn't it?
Yeah, could I afford to buy enough for like one meal for everyone?
From a
With
sort of
that-
nearby,
that-
from a nearby takeaway, you could get some
Yeah, within my
normal takeaway.
lifestyle.
You could get some normal takeaway for everyone within your lifestyle. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say so.
because my lifestyle is fresh food, so I was wondering if I'm getting less than fresh food, could I afford
You
enough
could-
to get something nicer than kibble?
Someone would
forever-
have to go downstairs and get it. But you could,
Yeah, I was gonna give Gage some money to go pick it up with my lifestyle money.
if he would like to, then absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
I
Why
just don't
not?
want to leave. Yeah, thanks, Gage. I just don't really trust the group, and I just want to keep my eyes on the data thing we just got, and not leave
You will
Clarissa,
notice that
you know?
the vending machine does produce kibble, but yeah, if you want to go get,
Yeah.
and it's
Only if
upmarked.
something nice-
Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to get something a bit nicer for the other guys
Yeah,
too, because
absolutely.
maybe and get them endear them a little bit to
Sure.
a little get
Okay.
on the good side of it.
Gage, if you'd like to, you can head downstairs and have a look around for restaurants that do takeaway. Which
Fuck
of?
it, why not?
All right, sure, absolutely. Just roll me a passive perception check quickly, like just a quick perception. And what are the rest of you doing? Forge, you immediately arrive at this room, and all that's on your mind is the battery. It's been an hour, 45 minutes total, I'd say, at this point. So it's coming up to the hour mark, actually, almost. This place does have outlets, so...
Yeah, I'll rig something up with tools that I have in one of the outlets, and maybe if they have some other device to steal the power converter from.
Okay. The vending machine has the fanciest setup, but you don't want to tamper with that because of its security
No.
measures. There are
I
there
was
is
thinking something simple like a nightstand lamp, alarm.
there is a nightstand lamp which you could sort of use. There is an alarm as well, but that's implanted into the wall itself, which might be a bit difficult to sort of rip out and get the wiring out of if you wanted to. But the nightstand lamp probably looks like the easiest one. So you again jerry rig the two cables together, and I'll say that you managed to do that quite easily. It's not too difficult for you. The only thing that I would say is that as you sort of jerry rig it, you are concerned about the power output that will be put through, because you don't know how much it was initially outputting from that cable, other than it should have been enough to sustain this. Regulating the power into this, because you're sort of jerry rigging it together. Just roll me a tech check for that one, and add your tech roll ability to it as well.
Come on.
And then Gage, as you have a look around, and just there's a Jamaican place, and there is a Spanish place that does food around here, which is lovely, and there is also an American sort of like old style diner across the road, not too far from here, close to the beach.
Spanish. Fuck it. Spanish.
All right. You do the Spanish place and ask if they have takeaway, and they do have a smaller menu for the takeaway bit. These restaurants here are not super fancy, by the way. They're not bad by any means or stretch of the imagination. That's definitely still pretty good, but they're not like your Japantown level restaurants. These are slightly more rundown. And as you go to the Spanish one, which has what appears to be Spanish, but you do immediately see that there's several Valentino gang members sitting at one table, just having some food, enjoying like what appear to be a mixture of Spanish but also Mexican food here. As you take a look at the menu, and making sort of just quickly asking the person at the counter, you do manage to cobble up for the money that Connor gave you, which would be about 50 eddies or so, 40-ish eddies or so, put together a decent meal there for everyone to eat. A couple of burritos, a couple of paellas, and like packed together, and
Sweet.
make your way out. Awesome. So at this point, both of you could have arrived, Woody and Chloe, and Forge. On that tech check, you do figure out that actually whatever this thing is, whatever this big data bank is, has its own regulator inside that seems to be regulating a lot of the power as you sort of take a more thorough look towards it. So happily you wrap up and again make a makeshift rewired within about 2 minutes, even a minute, you manage to put it together and plug it in, and the data bank glows once more.
Good.
Okay.
I'll try to look up the number of the agent and maybe even inquire through my secondary fake identity to the agent.
The number
That the Metro Center.
The number itself isn't publicly listed anywhere or has any sort of information on it in the public realm. or even in most of the databases that you're scouring. Lucille has been scouring the data that you have received, and just remind me, you've sent her through just the stuff that you got from the access point near the door, or
From the stuff that I wanted her to look through
yeah.
is everything I've collected during the mission. So,
So-
the photos and the access logs to the
Okay.
Main data storage, etc.
Okay. She will.
Hey, Forge, what's that number? Maybe our ghost friend can know more about it.
The number that I'm looking up is the one from the door that sent when we left. That sent the message.
Because I could forward that information to Casper and see if he can't find much and it's not listed, maybe he has resources we don't have. He could get more information. So maybe I'll just forward that to Casper to see if he can give us any more info on top of that.
Okay. The but yeah,
Do you have the number?
Yeah, I'm asking for it for Forge. And then I'll do that if he gives it to me, I guess.
Does your fixer?
He's currently looking it up himself on his phone, and you know.
So as you're looking through, it doesn't. You do not get any numbers, any lookup on that number. It seems to be potentially, I would say, the best chance that you would figure out is that it might not be, might be a disposable burner phone that it's connected to.
So it's probably not an agent at all, which I can check with the fake ID agent trying to contact agent to agent, since the AIs of the agents can talk to each other, right? So I'm sending Lucille through the vice persona to contact the agent that should be behind that number, if there is one.
All right, cool. So at this point, Woody and Chloe make it to the room, unless you want to do anything else, Woody.
Didn't see anybody in the parking lot or
Roll me a
in the car
perception.
park.
Roll me a perception check.
Someone waiting for us,
Good call. I didn't even
Or-
think
or
about
that-
looking at that.
or that may have shown up in the meantime.
Roll me a
It's
perception.
coming. Trying. Yeah, 14.
You don't notice anyone that's waiting. The parking lot is rather quiet.
What time of day is it right now?
It's heading closer to 9 o'clock at this point.
In the morning, or it's the
Evening.
morning right now, right?
No,
Oh,
you-
okay. Oh, because I thought we got there at midnight when the power went out.
you got there at 3 p.m. during the day.
Oh, okay. I messed up. And what day of the week is it? Is this a weekend, I'm guessing?
No, this is a Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that, because I was like, am I expected to be at work later today or tomorrow?
So we got to call
You
in.
you have a pretty cushy arrangement actually for your work, because most of the time you're allowed to work from home and check in relatively rarely. You're expected 2 days in the office total, and sometimes you can
Yeah.
even decide to work from home on those days as well.
Yeah, because I know I could fudge it a bit being a PR, because I'll be meeting media contacts
That's-
or writing reports and stuff.
Essentially, yeah, you do a lot of your work remotely because of the amount of meetings that you set up remotely. I will say
Chloe
this.
didn't see anything.
No, Chloe's having a look around, and fuck's sake, Chloe. Natural 10 followed by a 9, followed plus her perception.
Do the bomb.
She looks around, and she nudges you slightly, and she points up, and you do notice quite far in the distance, past the parking lot, on one of the windows, there is someone standing staring at what appears to be the 4th floor of the hotel. Just a figure, a silhouette. You can't tell anything else. Because of course you had to roll a fucking 29. Fucking Chloe.
That's insane.
They're like, so this motel, the rooms to the door open straight to the outdoors, right?
No, it's internal.
Oh, okay.
So this is a building. The elevators inside go internal. They only have windows outside on the sides of them. And
So the building is in such a way that there's a silhouette of one guy looking across at the other side at the
That's
fourth
right.
floor.
So where the building is, there's a parking lot behind that building that gives you a little bit of space, almost like as you have to drive into the alleyway to the side to get into this parking lot, which is an open parking lot. Around it, there are several other buildings. Some of them look like office buildings. Some of them look like apartment buildings. And there is one building across the parking lot, one of the closer adjacent buildings, of a guy looking at the window, at a window on the fourth floor, and the silhouette is noticeable because they're standing at the window staring or doing something.
Okay. All right. And I'd say we just keep it cool and just make our way to the lobby and try to maybe approach carefully. Like I think we should take the elevator up to the fourth floor, but just from there approach carefully. See where the silhouette is at that point.
Okay.
Does Chloe agree with that?
She tries not to make it apparent that she's noticed them, so she begins to sort of casually walk with you towards the lobby.
Yeah. Let's just go.
Okay. Guys, make your way to the fourth floor and to the room, which you would have probably provided her. But yeah.
And I would have said like knock and like 4 times or something like that, just so we know it's you, just like so we're not just opening the door for some random person.
What he's afraid of, like maybe in what he tells Chloe this while they're in the elevator, is like that guy has like a rocket launcher or something that he's about to fire straight into this hotel room.
She goes, "It's crossed my mind, but it doesn't." Here's what I'll do. I will make my way to potentially the side of the building. You carry on going up. See what you can see from the window. If you notice anything. I could go... If it's by himself, we can go infiltrate that building and yank him out. Or her.
Yeah.
But
you think that's Declan or somebody?
I don't think it's the Maelstromers. I mean, you said you lost them. This is the safe house set up by the client.
Maybe
I highly
it's
doubt
Richard
this is...
Knight.
She looks at you. She's now like, okay, this is the sort of person I'm dealing with. Yeah, like... If you needed one sentence to convey how much of a conspiracy nut Woody was, that I think you've done a great job for her. She's...
Well, anyway, so I'll go to the room. You approach carefully. I'll let them know what we saw.
Okay.
I just want to be extra careful here.
So, Connor, your boss knows that we've delivered the goods. Are we getting paid?
Yeah, I would have followed up on that. I'm sure. Like, I'll be like, we're at the location.
So as Woody arrives, and you've followed up on this message, it takes Ghost a little bit of time to reply to that message. But he goes, Ghost's reply is, okay, all of you exit the safe house. Leave her there with the data bank. We'll collect her. The moment you exit, and I have confirmation that you've exited, I will pay you the 1,500 each.
That's just...
I'll send one message. I won't say this out loud, but what about the information you promised me that was on this data bank?
You will... That data bank, if I assume I know what it is, and you could probably ask Forge about this, is heavily encrypted and it will take some time to get through it. But once I am through it, I will send you the results.
Better keep your word. Very well. I'm gonna turn to the rest of the group. I'm like, hey guys, Clarissa. I'll let Clarissa have her shower. I'll just speak like in a lower voice to the rest of the guys.
Chloe has given you the clothes to give to her as well. So, what do you leave that for her if you want?
We're gonna leave the data drive. We're gonna leave the data drive here, and we're gonna leave Clarissa here, and we're gonna leave. I want to do this quietly. We'll leave some clothes for her in the bed.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that.
And then we'll be paid as soon as our employer confirms we've left the safe house.
Well, we've delivered the data drive, the data store. Anything extra is going to cost them, as far as she's going. But I don't think we're just going to let her go without knowing what's happening to her. We didn't bring her out of there for them to just drag her out into a field somewhere and execute her, if they even could.
That's none of our business.
Well,
Do you want to get paid or not?
You do notice the distinct lack of presence of Chloe as Woody makes his way through. By the way, Connor.
yeah.
I'm
Where the
pretty
hell is
sure if
Chloe?
we can get the data out of the data drive, it will be worth way more than what's this, 10 grand that we're getting for the job between all of us.
Yeah, Chloe's approaching slowly. We may have spotted someone that's keeping an eye on this joint.
That must be how they're confirming us leaving.
Yeah, they were in a different building, staring out through a window. Chloe saw them actually and pointed it out to me. But
Alright.
I was fearful they had weapons trained on this room for something dramatic, but I asked her to approach slowly, so she's on her way. She'll be coming through.
She
Forge, can you even get any information off this data drive fast enough?
So not without more gear.
Why don't you call your boss back and tell him that we're not comfortable just leaving the woman, and that we want to know that she's been taken care of and is being safe, and we want to escort her. The data drive, that's fine. That's what we were paid to get, but anything more is beyond.
I'll look kind of annoyed and I'll just pick up a mage and I'm just like,
I mean, if you want to call her, stay here with her.
I'm just sending a message and I'm like, we have a problem. Some of the group don't want to leave the girl alone. They become attached.
The message just replies. It's quite difficult actually, but the message would come back and just says, "Tell them if they want any chance or hope of getting that information that I promised them, they're going to do as I say."
Do you sweeten the pot a bit? They give him an incentive to leave now? Some extra money? Anything? Can you get? I think one of the individuals with our group, he seems to be sensitive, connected to her in some way. He's worried about her well-being. I think he doesn't want. He just wants. If you could give some kind of assurances that she's not going to be shot in the back of the head and dumped in a field, maybe I could convince him to leave. The money doesn't hurt either.
We're going to neutralize her and then retrieve the data bank. That room is set up with the EMP. It's the only way we're going to take her down. She will not be killed. You can tell him that.
Okay. Alright. Some extra eddies maybe to help convince them.
Already paid for your ride, mate.
Well,
you're pushing
I'll
my
try my
generosity.
best, but I'll try my best, but these are edge runners.
I am very
Sometimes
well
they're not
aware.
reasonable. They're not always the most reasonable type.
The message has come back. It's like, I'm very well aware of who they are and what's important to them.
Okay, I'll tell them. I just kind of like give a big shy. I'm like, all right, listen. Your girlfriend's not gonna be hurt. I'll just be honest with you, Ward. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell it to you straight. And I'll lower my voice, of course, so she doesn't hear this. They're gonna
Shower, stop worrying.
They're gonna knock her down with some EMPs. They're not gonna hurt her. They just need to neutralize her so that she's safe. And they want the data drive, but you're not gonna get any of you guys. You're not gonna get the information you want, and you're not gonna get paid unless we leave now. There's no negotiation. So it's your choice. We either leave now, or you can forget whatever it is that this guy promised you, because he's not gonna give it to you.
My poking around with the data storage unit, does it have hardened circuitry? Or am I aware that the EMP would very much interfere with the data drive.
You do poke around with it, and roll me an ears tech check on it potentially. You've already done so earlier, but looking specifically for it, you do notice that it's encased in what appears to be incredibly hardened shielding that you could potentially tell with at least. This is the sort of stuff that you encase very, very valuable sensitive data with. This drive was built to last. If an EMP does go off, some of it might be compromised still because it would cut out the power to the drive very quickly. As long as someone could move in straight afterwards, they might be able to salvage it. But it is hardened circuitry in a lot of ways, and the shielding that is provided on top of it should keep it safe. Which gives you further clues that this person probably knows exactly what this device is or where it came from, potentially, if they're willing to set off an EMP in here.
Well, claiming they would.
Claiming.
And also, I'm sending a message to Chloe, letting her know the deal, and how Ward is being hesitant.
She goes, 1 sec. And then
I did say something like, do your magic.
do hear the door knocking not too long after. And she sort of she goes straight through the door. She notices that the shower is on, then kind of knocks and goes, I've got you a fresh change of clothes outside. I'm going to hang it on the door handle. And she puts it there. And then she goes to all of you and she goes, okay, I don't exactly know who these people are that hired you. And they keep telling you that it's a bad idea to engage with them. But they've currently got the case joint, they're casing the joint. They've not only got one person watching, they've got several people watching right now, from what I can tell. And I think that they noticed me. I tried to be as careful as I could.
Well, I don't know what these people promised you guys and how you feel about this. Why don't we tell me what everybody else seems to think or feels about this?
I'm just gonna say let's just go now. It's none of our business. It's out of our hands. We did our job, and I want the information that I was promised. And I'm sure whatever you want is important enough.
She turns around.
Woody's like, yeah, no. If that's Richard Knight up in that building, I want to get out of here. We're not. I don't want to stick around.
Wait a minute.
Well, the curiosity is very strong in this one. Because I too want to know what's on there, and it looks like an exciting
I'm just
challenge.
saying, I don't know who it is.
Just as a note, though, Lucille does return some of the data to you, your agent's AI, and does return some of the data to you that you have dug up. The pictures are analysed to be a collection of Richard Knight and what appears to be a very young Clarissa, at least from face detection, that sort of analytics that Lucille ran. Memories of the two of them together. The red dress she was wearing for a dinner. They're time-stamped, electronically time-stamped. Lucille is smart enough to have gone and searched, given the extensive amount of modifications you have made to her. She is smart enough to have gone and searched some of the dates of this, and Richard Knight, little known fact, some of you might remember it, was assassinated on the 20th of September 1998. One of the timestamps is Clarissa with a red dress and him at a dinner that she took on what appears to be a phone or something. The quality not amazing, but still passable. On the 20th of September 1998, it was assumed that he was assassinated in his apartment at night, and no one has ever found the killer of him.
Is she set?
Sorry?
Is she separate up in the photo like she is now?
Is she what? Sorry, cybered up.
So,
That is a good question. First, for starters, this is Lucille going through the photos internally. So unless Forge wants to show you the photos, Lucille hasn't done a particular search on that. I'd like to see how much cyberware she apparently has. So you'd have to sort of manually inspect it. But the other thing that Forge's AI will put together to you, Forge, is the access logs and stuff like that. It seems to have been a manual access, not like jacked in or anything, but just a manual access of like some sort of interface device that would be plugged into it. The password would be not. It seems like someone knew the password under the user Richard_N and would go to these pictures. You could assume that to be Clarissa. The other piece of data she has in the time that she's churned through, gone through all of the access logs, dating back 80 years since this thing was built. This thing was put together in 1993 by Richard Knight, this data bank. It appears to contain a lot of his research. And it appears to contain... she can't quite tell you as to what the actual data is inside of these floors, but she can tell you that it pertains to a large amount of data. A cosmological amount of data in this thing. It's storing a shitload of data. She can't say as to what that sort of data is. And then the other thing is that as she has managed to decrypt one of the 4 nodes that you have sent her on at the top, since you've given her for her to chew through, and she has managed to crack it. Or one of the nodes was actually correspondence between Ray Spartmos and Richard Knight, by the looks of it. And
Interesting.
yeah, the correspondence can be summarized by Lucille to be musings on an intelligent AI that could run the infrastructure, like an infrastructure level running AI that could run all of Night City when it was built.
Interesting.
As far as you know, Richard Knight did not know Raish Bartmos publicly, but there you go. There are some, and there seems to be a young Raish Bartmos in this correspondence. That is the other 3 notes she has not been able to figure out. But she will also be able to find out with that role that this entire architecture was built in collaboration with Raish Bartmos. So this was not a...
I'd just be like... I would just be encouraging, like, we should probably leave before she gets out of the shower. Just get as much information as you can, but we should move fast.
Just as you say that, she has grabbed the clothing from outside and has put it on, and has stepped outside in what appeared to be quite badly fitted beach bum style clothing, which looked bizarre at the best of times on anyone. But she makes her way out and has sort of... She's put the battle glove sort of and the dress next to her, and she's just sort of carrying it and just sitting down. She goes and sits down on the bed away, and then goes towards the window and stares out and has a look. And just as she does, she's sort of like glancing around, just fascination, and she goes, "Thank you. Thank you for..." And she freezes up a little bit. "Thank you for taking me out to see this."
Yeah.
And she will sort of look at Ward. She goes, "Don't need this anymore." And she pushes you the battle glove towards you.
All right. So I think our time together is coming to an end, Clarissa. There's somebody who knows you coming to pick you up. And we have to go.
Is it Declan?
It's not Declan.
I don't want to go. I want to stay here. I want to
Well,
go see the city.
Do you have any way to contact the outside world? Do you have a phone? Do you have anything like that?
She looks at you kind of confused.
Do you have any way to hide a phone if we were to give you a phone? Like what is that? A concealed holster or a concealed something? You know how people have that in their cyberware?
Oh, like the subdermal pocket.
Yeah, like something like that.
She goes over to her, like, the side of her shirt, and then just kind of presses down, and there seems to be a pocket.
Does anybody have a burner phone or an agent that we could give her? Nobody?
If you give
No.
me a moment, I can disconnect one of my extras.
Awesome. I don't have one, unfortunately, or I would give her mine. But we have to go, and I think you'll be in a better place than the squalor you were in. And if you have problems, you call us, and I'll give her my number for when it gets rehooked up, or put it on the phone.
Okay. She slowly looks scared, but she goes,
You can have this back if you feel more comfortable with it. I'll offer her back the battle glove.
she goes, my head's clearing up.
They want the data cache. They want you. They're gonna really love your diary, or you could hide the diary with the phone if you want.
Why do they want me?
I don't think they knew you were there, but I think now that they do, they are very interested in meeting you. And I think it might be somebody you know, because it just seems like that's the way things are shaking out.
She looks terrified, but she stands there. You disconnect your agent, one of the extras, Forge.
I disconnect one of the disposable cell phones. I will put in Ward's number as the only saved number.
He doesn't have a number. He has no agent.
I do have an agent. It's just off.
Okay. In which case, you can supply that number if you like, and that would be put into the agent.
And then I turn it off, just that the EMP doesn't fry it.
I would have asked if about putting Chloe's number in there too, because they seem to like get along as well. But it's up to him.
If you want to put in Chloe's number, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just make sure to turn it off before you give it to her, so she only turns it on when she needs it.
She sort of, after you give it to her, just looks at it, kind of holds it in her hand, nods.
All right. So as everybody files out, I'll grab her by the shoulders and look her straight in the eye and tell her, we're survivors. We move forward. We don't look back. Keep moving forward.
She looks out the window briefly and then back at you, and she seems like her mind is in some other place. But one thing that you've noticed is that her, like, ever since she left that room, ever since she stopped staring at that screen or left that room or whatever it was, she's not been acting as erratic as she was in that room. Not as fragmented anymore. But it seems like she's taking some time to sort of consolidate some stuff in her mind. And she nods.
You call if you run into any trouble or you need any help.
She nods again.
And hold on to that ring. If you're ever scared or a bit worried, just give it a rub. It always brings me good luck.
And try not to kill anybody if you don't have to. But if they piss you off, you go right ahead. And we'll close the door and we'll leave.
Okay. You close the door, and if everyone has made their way out, and Gage has returned with their food, by the way, at this point. You have eaten some of it at least, and leave some for her or whatever you like to do. It's your choice.
Over last meal with her.
Yeah, absolutely. And begin to make your way out of the springy wells, and begin to
we're seen by the people that were seen when we were coming in.
As you look towards the building as to where they were standing, you do not see them anymore.
And I'll send a message saying we're leaving.
Did Chloe tell us what, did she point out the room, or from our room, did she point out where they were staying?
Chloe did not point it out from the room. She only pointed out to Woody when they were on the ground floor.
Where were these people located?
She sort of, as she kind of looks up and she notices they're not there anymore, she freely points towards them. One there, 2 floors above, and one on the roof.
So I'll look around and just go as we're leaving.
All right. Okay. You all leave and take the car, make your way Or like, so how are people wanting to leave? Woody has a 4-seater.
I'm really annoyed right now, and I just want to get into my shower and go back to my con apt. But
You
I'm
grab
fine with calling a taxi with Chloe.
you grab a cab, and how do the rest of you want to get out of here?
Woody, you got a seat and can drop me off on the way.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind a ride if that's all right.
guys. Yeah, for sure.
I
I
don't know
could
if you,
fit 4, including myself. So
and you got the
I'm checking my
extra.
phone to see if I got the eddies yet from Casper.
the corpo can manage. I know he can.
You begin to hold. Some of you grab the ride with Woody. Some grab the taxi.
Gage, are
your way
you
away.
coming?
Gage, you need
Coming with me?
a ride over to Chinatown? We can drop you off.
No, I'm fine. I'll just walk.
Okay, so you walk off into the distance. As you're all expecting some payment, an hour later, nothing happens. An hour and a half later, nothing happens. And then 2 hours later, you get a message, Connor, as you're back in your apartment and you're getting impatient. And she goes, she's not fucking there, and neither is the data bank.
It's not our fault. You told us to leave and we left. That's your responsibility, not ours. You made a promise. We did the job. If you lost her, that's on you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to pay us to go find her and get the data bank at whatever sewer it ends up or whatever shithole it's gone to now, we'll do that too. But you're paying us for what we did today.
He sends you back a message. Goes, my team was there. We were waiting for the extraction. I just arrived. It's a bloodbath. This happens 30 minutes later. She's
That's
taken the data
horrible.
drive.
That's unfortunate for you, but we still did the job and to the terms that you agreed. And give us our eddies, and I would say that we can maybe talk about trying to get this data drive because I still want the information that you promised us that would be on that. I'm sure the others would too.
Get
But
another message.
You still owe us this money.
Get another message. And it goes, we need to meet.
From someone else?
From him still. From him or her. You actually don't know what gender
In
they are,
person?
but Casper.
Yeah.
But Casper does send you another message and goes, we need to meet. Bring everyone else. I'm not releasing a single Eddie until you explain to me what the fuck went on in there.
Hey, I got fine. You know what? We can meet somewhere public though. How about there's a Chinese joint about 10 minutes off Corporal Plaza. Good place to meet. It's not completely public and it's not out of the way. It's kind of in between. We should be able to go there without too much fuss.
Tomorrow at 12.
Alright, I'll send you the address. Yeah, hold up.
Alright.
I'll look over at Chloe. I'm like, hey, sweetheart, I'm exhausted right now. Yeah, I know you'd finished your shower. I'm gonna go take mine, but can you? I'll fill around what happens. Can you contact the group and fill them in on the situation, and give them the address? I kind of let Chloe do it for me.
She just
That's
looks
my
at you, and she seems to be occupied with her agent, and she just kind of shows it to you. And there, on the agent, you see a message from what appears to be Clarissa's agent that Forge gave her, and it's a message to both Wards and Chloe in a group chat, and it's just a picture of the sunny beach, and it just says "Look forwards" underneath, and that's where we'll end the session.
Fuck me.
All right, brilliant. Well, that's what we'll call it. That's what we'll call it a session. Just as a brief note, we won't be recording a session for the next 2 weeks due to some absences and other prior engagements, but we will be back on the 4th of April, hopefully, to record this, and then a few days later this will be released on YouTube. So, until then, hope to see you guys all, everyone again soon, and make sure to check out the Cyberpunk Uncensored YouTube channel and Discord, follow, like, subscribe, and yeah, until then, hope to see everyone again soon. Good night, everyone, take care.
Later, guys.
Cyberpunk Uncensored.